Hey you all, welcome to Just a Shinobi. Today, we dive into an exciting what-if scenario. What if Team 7 found Naruto was an Anbu? Part 4. Hope you loved previous parts. Check out full playlist. Hope you enjoy this, hit subscribe for more thrilling content. Explore my other videos, share with friends, enjoy them too, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. It motivates me. Let's not waste any time. Jump into today's what if. Soon the world will know pain. Pain will bring peace, stated the six paths as they hovered over the village. Under me, this world will become one. Only through me can this broken world become one. The Diva Path raised his right hand. This world shatter. Shinra tens. Rasengan. The Diva Path's eyes were nearly torn from his head when his chest was ripped apart and torn from the rest of his body by the swirling ball of vicious compressed chakra. What? How did he get into the sky? How did he remain undetected? He's using wind chakra to offset the pull of gravity. Questioned Nagato as he watched from a distance as the Goddamn Hokage appeared 500 feet in the air and defeated his Diva Path before he could flatten the village. Where are the salamanders? They were supposed to distract him while I burned down the forest and the outer wall. Nagato looked down on the village from his elevated position, and his shock grew as he saw all 5 of the giant salamanders he had summoned revert into smoke. At each site stood a man, more specifically, the 5 clouds of smoke revealed Zabuza, Asuma, Guy, Kakashi and the final bee he spotted both scared and enraged him. Jiraiya. Before he knew it, his combined vision started to disappear. He watched in anger as each path was destroyed. The animal and Preta path were cut in half and basically detonated by the legendary Splash Sword. Then the Asura path was beheaded with a kick to the neck, followed by Nakara path which fell to the still-powered Rasengan before Naruto paused in the air and the Rasengan in his hand grew wide and began screeching horribly, forcing Nagato himself to cringe in pain from the technique he could hear from almost a mile away. Consider yourself shit out of luck. Stated the still hovering Naruto as the screeching noise from his Rasengan grew even worse. I know exactly where you are, and so does Jiraiya. Rasen Shuriken, level 4. The spinning ball of wind chakra grew 4 sets of rotating blades as the screeching reached a fever pitch and Naruto drew his arm back. It's over. The Rasen Shuriken left Naruto's hand and went through the last path like a hot knife through butter before curving down and directly toward a still perfectly calm Nagato. So much power. I can't absorb that. Mumbled Nagato as he jumped away with every ounce of speed he had, just barely nicking his side as one of the giant wind blades sniped his left rib cage. The Kara path. Thought Nagato as his side began to heal. That attack. It's hard to heal the damage from it. Suna. Gaara frowned deeply as he looked over his village. He stood at the top of the Kazukiage Tower, to the south of him, levitating on a giant clay bird, was a member of Akatsuki. Those damn bombs of his are a danger to my village, and as long as he can move freely, he can attack from any angle. Where is his partner? Come on out little Shukaku. Katsu. Shouted the blonde bomber Dadara as he sent more of his creations towards high-value targets, though he frowned when he witnessed the dessert itself reach up and block the explosions like they were insects. So he can control the very dessert that his village is made up of. I find cage indeed. It's a waste of art to continue to attack his village, I'll just attack him, HN. As long as he doesn't send anything more powerful, he won't be able to damage the village. I need to kill him before he does. Naruto, are you fighting right now too? Thought Gaara as he gathered sand beneath his feet and levitated high above the village. If you continue to attack my village, you will die. Leave now Akatsuki and never return. HN, I'm going to have to decline. You see, you're very important to us little Shukaku and I have to make sure that you come with us. Stated Dadara as he pulled his hands out of the pouches. C2 Dragon. With Yujito. Nibi style. Hell Flames Jutsu. Shouted Yujito as she blew blue flames from her mouth, aiming them at the 2 men in black cloaks. Fuck. Knock it off bitch. That fucking hurts. Shouted the silver-haired Haiden as he looked at his smoldering right arm. Stop complaining Haiden. Shouted the tall, imposing figure of Kakazu, who was currently doing his best to get a hold of the 2-tailed Jinchuriki. Hisam was having problems of his own. Stay still you little gaki. Toby thinks we should just ask nicely. That way we can all be friends. Shouted Toby. So this is the 3-tailed container. Seems the Namikaze brat really did take him in. Toby looked around the battlefield, they were stationed in the expansive training ground behind the Namikaze compound. Sensei, your house is beautiful. I'll have to remember that for the infinite Tsukiyami. Naruto said that you guys were bad people. I don't like bad people. Shouted Azumi as he started pumping Sanbus chakra through his body, gaining a purple cloak. Pain. Nagato stood still in the middle of the clearing he was currently occupying. His face was stretched thin as he struggled to maintain his indifferent appearance. Nagato. You've grown so much. When the man I assigned to look over you three stopped reporting, I thought you had died," stated Jiraiya as he looked over to the dismantled body of the diva path, easily recognizing it as Yuhiko. "Are you the only one left?" "Sensei. Conan lives as well. You taught us much, Sensei. It's because of your worlds that I will unify this world under myself. I am God and I will bring peace. Even if it's one piece at a time," stated the monotone Nagato, his eyes snapping to Naruto as he descended from above and crushed the area Nagato had been standing in. "Under different circumstances, I would be happy to invite you to my village, but unfortunately, you are now a threat and must be dealt with. I'm giving you one chance, you are the leader of the group hunting my family. End this now," stated Naruto in such a commanding voice that Nagato found himself actually thinking about accepting his offer. "Almost. Foolish mortal, you have no authority over a god. Shinra Tensei." A wave erupted from Nagato in all directions, batting away Tsunade, who had been sneaking up behind the red-headed, hoping to end him before the fight even began. Jiraiya was no better, as he went tumbling away from the shock wave, though he wasn't the strongest Sannin for nothing, and easily righted himself and landed in a crouch a fair distance away. Tsunade did the same. Naruto, however, stood in place, seemingly not at all affected by the wave of gravity. "Shit. I was using chakra to stick to the ground and I was still almost blown away. Is this really the power of the Rinnegan? Does that mean that I can do that as well?" thought Naruto as he contemplated the abilities his eyes seemed capable of giving him. "It doesn't matter, I can't test it now and leave myself open if it doesn't work." How did he know Bachan was coming up behind him? She had her chakra suppressed and was moving silently. "Now I will give you one chance, Hokage. Come quietly and your village will be spared," stated Nagato. His monotone voice adding to the threatening nature of the request. "You're a terrible liar. I can sense 4 others in my village. One of them is Kisame. If I leave now, you will still attack to gain Yujito and Izumi," stated Naruto as he once more formed a Rasengan in his hand. "I can't get close enough to actually use my Taijutsu on you because of that pressure wave of yours, but I doubt you can dodge this again from this close. Rasen Shuriken level 4. "Foolish," stated Nagato as he simply raised an arm to the giant disc of wind chakra. "Pre-top path. I hope I can absorb this much chakra at once." Naruto watched in horror as his third most powerful attack was simply negated by his opponent, simply holding his hand up. Seriously? He can absorb jutsu as well. I'm running out of viable options. If I use anything bigger than level 4 Rasen Shuriken, I could wipe out the village, but he can just absorb those. If I try to use Hiraishin, he can just deflect the kunai away, and if I try to use Itseelis, he might still be able to absorb it. Nagato was having thoughts of his own. Absorbing that jutsu almost overloaded my system, and he doesn't even look winded. His reserves are on par with mine, most likely much higher. I can't risk having to do that again, and if I disperse it with Shinra Tensei, then he could be able to get to me within the 5 seconds it takes to recharge. My skills with the Asura path are my weakest, and even if I can hold my own against him and Taijutsu, Sensei and his teammate will be back soon. I'll waste some chakra by summoning as many animals as possible to distract Sensei and the other Sannin, and I'll take the Jinchuriki. Animal path. Attack of 50 beasts. Nagato slammed his hand into the ground and a mountain of smoke erupted beneath him. Naruto took this as the sign to summon his own help. Summoning technique. Grand Toad Alliance. When the dust cleared, Pain stood above a literal army of 2-headed dogs, centipedes, birds and rhinos. Naruto stood in the head of Gamabunta, to his right was Gamahiro, and on his left was Gamakin. On his shoulders were the elder toads. "Naruto boy. Why would you need all of never mind," stated Pa as he looked out at the army of strange animals. "Those aren't normal summons. I need you 5 to hold them off until Jiraiya and Tsunade can get here. Can you do that for me?" questioned Naruto. "Not a problem Gaki. I've been wanting a rhino pelt for a while now," stated Gamabunta as he unsheathed his sword. "You take the red head, kid, we'll handle his pets." Meanwhile, Nagato was once again cursing. "There's more than one boss toad. Does that mean that there's more than one boss slug as well? That used a quarter of my chakra and I still haven't noticed his chakra level drop at all. Alright, I can't use ninjutsu, and because of that pressure wave thing I don't know if I will be able to use Taiyokinjutsu. That leaves Jinjutsu and Fuinjutsu. I hope you were right about this pervy sage, cause I don't know anything else that wouldn't be a gamble." Destruction wave. Naruto charged chakra to his fist and punched the ground, causing huge ripples of earth to explode outward, turning the once flat clearing into a field of drastic hills and jagged peaks. Or at least that's what it looked like to Nagato. The power of that punch was enough to ripple the earth over 300 feet in each direction. If I get hit by that I may not be able to heal myself. I need to force him to keep his distance, that way he needs to use ninjutsu, but if he finds out the weakness of the Shinra Tensei, he can get close. Shinra Tensei. Naruto reapplied the chakra to his feet and reinforced his body with earth chakra. I need to get close and force him to move around so that the genjutsu starts affecting his movement. Just as soon as this jutsu passes me. Naruto forced his body to stay in place against the force of the gravity wave, but was only partially successful as he stayed upright but was pushed backwards roughly 10 feet. Come on. Any second. Now. Naruto shot at Nagato like he was running from death itself. In a millisecond he had closed a sizable gap between them, his eyes at the level just below the Rinnegan, not wanting to reveal it yet, but still needing the boost in strength, speed, endurance, reflexes and boosted chakra control. His eyes shifted as he entered Sage mode, the whites of his eyes now blue as his pupil became a golden star. Uzumaki style. Meteor punch. Shit. No time to dodge. Asura path. Stated Nagato as he sprouted another set of arms to shield himself while another set of legs and chakra helped him stay upright. Unfortunately for Nagato, his opponent had charged his punch with wind chakra. Naruto punched straight through the extra set of arms, his fist now millimeters away from Nagato's neck. Pre-top path. Nagato had activated it just in time to strip the wind chakra away from the punch, but still took the brute force of it to his upper chest, resulting in him flying away at speeds he couldn't even track. Thinking quickly, Nagato coated himself in the black rods he used to disrupt chakra, making a cocoon to protect himself from the damage that was sure to come from hitting whatever was in his path, while also activating his Nakara path to heal the crater in his chest. Naruto, however, saw an opportunity as he moved to follow up the punch. Those rods look metal. If I can get him with a lightning attack, I can end this. Thought Naruto as he raced after the flying redhead, hand signs flashing at speeds that would make Hiruzen Sarutobi green with envy. As he approached the rapidly slowing Nagato, he held his hand up to the sky. Kenjutsu style. God's wrath. Nagato watched him horror as a lightning bolt, a real lightning bolt, rocketed down at him while he was still airborne. He can control real lightning. I can't absorb that. Shinra Tensei. The burst of gravity deflected the oncoming lightning bolt out into the wilderness, while Naruto, who was still airborne, was thrown backwards. Nagato used his armored form to contort and land safely on the ground before he sprung forward, hoping to catch the blonde before he regained his bearings. I have no choice, his ninjutsu arsenal is the perfect match for mine, and any genjutsu I use would be useless because of his Sage mode and the Kyuubi. All I have to do is get close and impair him with a chakra rod. Then he won't be able to use Sage mode. Meanwhile, Naruto was grinning from ear to ear. So there's a 5-second gap between when he can use that pressure wave jutsu, all I have to do is get close in that time. And my clone managed to tag him. Suna. This is why Iwa is the weakest of all the villages. Taunted Gaara from a floating platform of sand which was hovering over the south wall of the village. I've pushed him out of the village. But with those bombs, I can't attack or he will just blow up the wall and find a way back in. I hope this jutsu of yours works, Naruto. We're at a stalemate, I can't afford to waste in clay and he knows that if he attacks I'll target the village. Leader Sama wasn't kidding when he said this little brat was good. He can command the desert and even fly with the same skill I can. I need to end this fast. Where are you, Sasori-chan? Uzumaki style. Sand dragon. Shouted Gaara as a truly giant sand dragon rose from the desert below and began going after Tadara, using its surprising speed and power to force the blonde bomber to use up more chakra to stay ahead of it. He's forcing me to use more chakra. He for sure has more than me. But is his control more refined than mine? Surely he can't control his massive amount of chakra the same way I can. That's it. I'll put nano bombs in his sand. That way I can just wait until he uses another shield and take him out. Thank you again, Naruto. This is perfect. With the shadow clone-like properties of the sand dragon, I don't have to continuously add chakra and because it has a mind of its own, I can let it attack while I defend. Thought Gaara excitedly while he looked out at his sand dragon that seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. Vegito and Azumi. This isn't working. That sword takes my chakra cloak away and even when I get past fish guy, I can't hit mask guy. Thought Azumi. As he held his two thunder swords in a cross guard, waiting for one of his opponents to move. You're good, Gaki, real good. Stated Kisame with his patented shark-like grin. You're the only chunin to ever last more than a minute with me. And the way you handle Raiga's swords is admirable as well. But unfortunately, I'm gonna have to end this. Tobi wants to capture him. You never let Tobi have any fun. Stated the childish Tobi. I love acting like that. Plus it was the Sanbi that got Rin killed. I wonder where Kakashi is. Probably fending off that peon salamanders. Be my guest, I don't really want to hurt the kid anyway and you can be less destructive than me. Smiled Kisame. Not going to happen, shark breath. Came a new voice. Another child that appeared to be Azuma's age showed up, both him and the young girl behind him wearing Chunin vests. Team Naruto stands together. I won't let you harm my teammate. Hey, look at that Kisame. A Sharingan user. I thought only Itachi and Sasuke had the Sharingan. Questioned Toby, though on the inside, he was pissed. This boy has a fully developed Sharingan. How is that possible? He doesn't even have the Uchiha black hair. His hair is red. His hair is red. There's an Uzumaki and Uchiha hybrid. Why didn't I know about this? Meanwhile, Yujito was having troubles of her own. Goddamn freaks. The tall one can literally sew himself back together and the silver-haired one can't die at all. I've hit him twice with hellfire and I can't seem to do any real damage. Ah. You fucking bitch. Do you have any idea how much that hurts? Shouted the silver-haired man. Who was still coated in blue fire. Shut up Haiden. It's not like it does any real damage to you anyway. Just focus on capturing her so we can move on to the other high bounties. Stated Kakazu angrily, being tired of his partners complaining. You have some pretty high goals for yourself, especially considering that neither of you have managed to touch me. Stated Yujito, reapplying her chakra cloak. Okay, from what Jiraiya told me, as long as the silver-haired one doesn't get any of my blood, he can't do anything, using my chakra cloak eliminates that possibility. But the other one? I have to either kill him 5 times or destroy all of his masks. I already got the water one, which means I need to take out 4 more. This isn't good. She already got my water heart and my wind and fire heart are useless against her as long as that chakra cloak stays up and I can't use my earth heart because I'm using it to block her in. If I attack with it, she could get away with her superior speed. Thought Kakazu wearily. False darkness. The branches. So, Iwa has a stay in this little invasion as well. Seems that you're as cowardly now as you were when sensei had you running with your tail between your legs. Stated Kakashi as he pulled his headband up. Shut your mouth, Konoha scum. Iwa will control the world when your Hokage dies today. Our leader sent us here to wipe you out. With you dead Haddock, we will finally have revenge on the Yellow Flash. Stated on of the 10 Jonin. You're fools. Your leader sent you to your deaths. Stated Zabuza as he pulled his sword off of his back. And not to burst your bubble or anything, but Naruto is much stronger than Lord Minato ever was. Stated Asuma as he brandished his trench knives. Yosh. I have not been this excited since the Chunin exams. Prepare to meet your end. Shouted Guy as he slipped into his Goken stance. Top of Mount Izuna. Atop the mountain that stood over the horizon of the village hidden in the leaves, 2 figures stood, their backs to the sun, as their silhouettes cast a long and imposing shadow that seemed to stretch for miles, making it impossible to see their faces. He's very good. Stated the long-haired man who was watching the battle between Nagato and Naruto. But not good enough. What do you mean grandfather? He is the strongest man in the world. When he defeats Pain, he will ascend to godlike status. Stated the other, who had short hair and a sword peeking over his left shoulder. You have much to learn. Even in your surprising wisdom, you do not see the powerful enemies that his future holds. No, he is not strong enough. Not yet. Stated the long-haired one, his eyes never leaving the blonde-haired Hokage. But he is about to take down a god. What level is above a god? Questioned the short-haired figure. Do not mistake the fact that he has the Rinnegan as him being a god. They are not his own eyes and he hasn't even unlocked a tenth of their power. Compared to the Sage of 6 Paths, he is but an academy student. Stated the long-haired one. And do not automatically assume that he will win. Though there is a good chance he will, Nagato is very strong in his own right. If he is as far away from the sage as you say, then how powerful are his potential enemies? Questioned the short-haired man. I was a true god and even I fell to Hashirama. There are forces at play that are even beyond what I once was. He will need strong companions to deal with these foes and he will need even stronger abilities. Stated the long-haired man, who turned his head, revealing a red Sharingan eye with a unique pattern, the pattern of Madara Uchiha. Remember Shisui, no matter how strong you think you are, there are always beings out there that are stronger. Shinra Tensei. Duration. Thought Naruto as he saw the wave of pressure heading towards him. His clone had marked the red-headed man with a seal when he punched him earlier. Naruto flashed in front of Nagato and landed a devastating punch to Nagato's face, resulting in the red-headed man flying backwards and having to right himself on a tree. This isn't good, I need my paths, but the reanimation jutsu will end up costing me half my chakra and he hasn't used any jutsu since I absorbed his last attack. It's my only option at this point, I need to reanimate the Naraka path. Thought Nagato as he began forming hand seals. The Kara path. Heavenly remote revival. Mumbled Nagato as he was forced to once again use the Asura path to take another blow from the super-powered punches of the Goddamn Hokage. Has he figured out the 5-second gap between the Shinra Tensei? His chakra just split into 2. What's he doing? thought Naruto as he sent another punch at the red-haired man. Wait. Now it split into 7 parts. Did he revive those other bodies? But Jiraiya and Tsunade. Jiraiya stood atop Gamabunta, Tsunade atop Kitsai, Gamma Hero, and Gamakin stood around group of giant multi-headed dogs. All the others went down easy, but these dogs just multiply. Shouted Tsunade, her Sozo Saisei activated as she punched away yet another of the dogs. Too bad they're summons. They would make great pets. Shouted back Jiraiya, red outlines around his golden-toed eyes, his red lines now thick and pointed with Ma and Pa fused to his shoulders. Stop joking and find a way to take these things out. Shouted Tsunade as she batted away another one of the dogs that had lunged at her. Who's joking? The Gaku's got a pet and I want one too. Shouted Jiraiya as he flashed through hand seals. Sage Art. Grand Fireball. When did Naruto get a pet? Questioned the blonde Sannin. Will you two knock it off? We're in the middle of a fight and Pain's chakra just split into 7 partitions. Shouted Ma. Not so loud Ma, Jiraiya boy will need his hearing. Stated Pa. Has had a pet. He's lived in that compound for 3 years now. Replied Jiraiya. Tsunade thought for a second, trying to remember anything that could be considered a pet. Zabuza isn't a pet. Branches. This isn't right. Lord Kitsuchi said that you were all low air rank. We should have to problem with you. Shouted one of the nameless Chunin, who had just watched 4 of his fellow Chunin, as well as all but one Genin fall to the branches in less than a minute. Thankfully all of the Jonin were still alive. You were fools to believe such a blatant lie. Stated Kakashi as he pulled his headband down, conserving chakra until he would need it again. I was a low-rank ninja at the end of the Third Great War. Zabuza was listed as a high-air rank traitor. Your own bingo book has both Guy and Asuma as mid-air ranks. And all of those ranks are outdated. Seriously, I haven't been low air rank since I left to join the Guardians and that was almost 12 years ago. Stated Asuma, a cigarette hanging from his lip. Like Zabuza said before, your leader sent you here to die. It is most unyouthful. Your leader most likely will use your deaths as a springboard towards war. A war he would lose in a second. It's been said already, but Naruto is much more powerful than Lord Minato was when he died. I doubt your whole village could even scratch Naruto. Stated Guy as he lowered his stance. Earth style. Youthful dragon of Earth. Naruto vs Pain. Shit. This isn't good. Thought Naruto as he dodged another punch from the mechanical body that he could have sworn he took out when he Hiraishined to the top of the shield that surrounded the village and killed them all. Now that all my bodies are functioning again, you have no way of defeating me. Give up now and come peacefully. Stated all the bodies at once, giving Naruto the chills. With my combined vision and being able to use all my powers simultaneously, he doesn't stand a chance, though I need to force him to use jutsu so that I can reabsorb some chakra. Because of the remote revival and that mass summoning, I'm down to just over a quarter of my reserves. Shit. It was hard enough fighting him when he was by himself, now I have to fight 6 more of them. And I can't get behind any of them. They all see what the others see. Thank you Great-Grandpa Tobirama. Bringer of darkness. The Gato went wide-eyed as himself and all of his paths lost their sight, just blackness surrounded them. Foolish. It's obviously a Jinjutsu. Kai. Nothing happened. Hi. Still nothing as Nagato began whipping his head around. What have you done? Why can't I see? It's a Jinjutsu. My great-grandfather designed it to negate the Manjikyu Sharingan. It can't be broken unless I allow it. States Naruto. Let's just hope he doesn't figures out the flaw to this jutsu. Team Naruto vs Tobi and Kiss him. You're good. Tobi likes you, you're a good boy, like Tobi. Called out the masked man as he reappeared about 20 feet away. Kiss him, who was locked in a power struggle with Azumi. These kids are outrageous. The uchiha is keeping up with me. I understand he has a fully developed Sharingan, but the only my thing I can do is teleport behind him, and even then the girl is there to attack me before I can do anything. Leave it to Sensei Zun to train 3 10-year-olds to be damn near elite jonin. They're good gaki. Not even Yagura could use all 3 tails at once and stay in control. Stated Kiss him with his patented shark-like grin, though on the inside, he was very confused. This kid is holding his own. I don't like this, when he's using the beast's chakra, I can't outmuscle him and he's just barely slower than me. If this keeps up, I'll have to start absorbing his chakra and I'll have to purge Samahata to relink with it. Thanks, Naruto Nyasin and Mr. Zabuza taught me a lot. Stated Azumi, trying to get a rise out of the former swordsman by mentioning Zabuza. He was hoping it had worked, but wasn't sure. Oh man. I can feel my body breaking down already, I thought I could last longer than this. Mr. Turtle, how much longer do I have? So, Zabuza trained you huh? I guess that makes me your senpai. Stated Kiss him as he backed off from the 10-year-old Jinchuriki. I don't want you as a senpai, you're a bad person and I don't like bad people. Stated Azumi. Zabuza said that if I ever had to fight you, I should use this. He says that you suck in the mist. Vegito vs Haiden and Kakazu. Stupid cunt. Stay still. Shouted Haiden as he swung his Sith again, missing the blonde Jinchuriki by a wide margin. Kakazu meanwhile was studying his opponent. She's faster than both of us and has much better stamina. Haiden's already out of energy and I'm running out of options as she just dodges or counters my attacks. This isn't good. As long as she has that cloak I can't do any damage with Taijutsu and I don't know any Jinjutsu that would work on a Jinchuriki. I most likely will have to resort to using the next level. Vegito was busy avoiding swipes and watching out for her other opponent when she saw an opening and took it. She swiped at Haiden's neck. By extending her claws with chakra, she was able to slice his head off, but she knew that he was not yet dead, so she stopped on the still cursing head, crushing it into the ground. She then picked the crushed head up and threw it in the direction of Naruto's fight. Very clever. Even though he is still alive, you have destroyed his brain and made sure I could not stitch him back together. Stated Kakazu as his arms came loose from his body and thick black cables extended them outward. I was hoping not to reveal this, but I've been left no choice. Hurt Grudge Fear, Stage 2. Mount Izuna. It won't be long before Pain finds the weakness in this jutsu. Stated Madara as he looked down on the battle between the blonde and red-headed Uzumakas. I wasn't aware this jutsu had a weakness. You yourself said that it was the strongest non-Sharingan Jinjutsu that there is. Stated Shisui Sr. as he watched his son fight off Tobi and Kisame. To think that two 10-year-olds are so good in the mist that they are taking on Kisame. It is. But due to the fact that it's made to counter the Sharingan, it has one weakness that is also its greatest strength. This Jinjutsu uses the chakra from the eyes of the person who is under it. Tobirama created it to counter Izuna. It took many weeks to figure out how to counter it, but once he did, the jutsu becomes almost useless. Stated Madara before quietly stating. But by that time, Tobirama had created the Hiraishin Jiri, which ended up killing Izuna. So how do you counter it? Asked Shisui. Simple. Cut the chakra that's going your eyes up for a few seconds and it goes away. Naruto vs Pain. So, I can't use my eyes. Jiraiya sensei said that this could happen one day, I should half listen to him. Thought Nagato as he continued to do his best to manipulate his paths. Rasengan. Mumbled Naruto as he took out the largest body, driving the Rasengan down on top of the bald head of the Asura path. As he was about to take off, he noticed several black rods jutting out of the mangled face and neck of the strange body. He quickly took the largest one he could find and retreated. This thing is setting off my senses like crazy, what is it? I can feel it messing with my chakra. Suddenly, the paths all converged on Naruto, shocking the blonde-haired Kage as he jumped to avoid them. Did he figure out the flaw in the jutsu? No, his Rinnegan's still activated. As long as he is in contact with that chakra rod, I can locate him. The only problem is, now the Asura path won't function properly. Thought Nagato as he continued to send his paths after the blonde. They can't see, they must be sensing me. I've got to use the terrain, now that he can't see, hopefully he will be less aware of his environment. Thought Naruto as he darted towards the tree line. I need to start picking them off, I think that if I take these rods they lose strength, so I should be able to start removing them from the picture. Gaara vs Deidara. Come on, where are you Sasori? Questioned Deidara aloud as he continued to dodge Gaara's sand dragon. You must be using a lot of chakra to keep this up. He still hasn't figured out that it's basically a giant sand shadow clone. As long as I keep him away from the village, everything is alright. But where is his partner? Wondered Gaara silently as he observed the blonde bomber dodging the sand dragon. Sand pillar detection technique. A pillar shot out of the desert and connected with his desert suspension technique. Gaara sent chakra into the pillar, using it as a radar beacon, pulsing chakra into the village, searching for the largest chakra signature. What is that? Is he preparing another attack? Thought Deidara. Goddamn dragon. How is this thing still going? I've never seen a dragon technique like this before. Even Inoki's couldn't last more than a minute and this has been going on for at least 3. Where is your partner? Is he leaving you here to die? Taunted Gaara, hoping to stall for more time. I still need to build more chakra. I just hope that I can take him out before his partner shows up. Sasori-senpai is somewhere, I'm sure that he's planning something. Stated Deidara, even though he knew exactly where the wooden man was. Hurry up and get your shit Sasori, I need your help here. But Sasori. Damn. This is the third hideout I had that has been raided. Could they have found the map? No, I destroyed that. My last hope is Orochimaru's base. Unless he took my scrolls as well. Thought Sasori as he moved to yet another of his hidden bases throughout Suna. The only person left that would even know about my bases is Granny Chiyo. Naruto vs Pain. Naruto jumped forward to deliver a kick to the head of one of the paths. He charged nature chakra to his leg and let loose, nailing the side of its face. The head broke free of the neck, revealing a black rod identical to the one Naruto was currently holding. Naruto reached out and ripped the rod from the body of the path and watched as it fell to the ground limply. I was right, if they don't have these rods in them, then they won't function properly. The only problem is I'm running low on chakra and I've already used one of my 3 reserve seals. I need to end this now. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Jiraiya and Tsunade. Jiraiya stood atop Gamabunta with a smile. He and Tsunade had just whipped out the last of the multiplying dogs and were finally free to help Naruto. What do you say, Haim? Should we go help out the Gaki? Questioned Jiraiya, who while smiling, was panting heavily as all the summons dispelled. Tsunade fell to a knee, the Sozo Saisei fading from her face. You go, I'm spent, if I fight any more my henge will drop and I'll end up passing out. Jiraiya was next to her in an instant. He picked her up bridal style, smiling at her. Let's get somewhere safe. The brat can handle this from here. Fine, let's get to the monument, that way we can at least say that we were helping protect the civilians. Stated Tsunade with a sly smile. Are you suggesting? I've always wanted to do it there. Vegito vs Kakazu. I wasn't aware Earth Grudge Fear had a second level. Though, I have to admit, I didn't imagine it would be this. Stated Yujito as she studied her operations carefully. He had grown, instead of his usual height of just over 6 feet, he now stood easily 10 feet tall, each segment of his body being lengthened and strengthened by the thread that seemed to be what his body was made of. His remaining 4 hearts were now all shielded by thick domes of thread, and his arms were now 10 feet long each, giving him outstanding reach. Other than Hashirama and Tabarama Senju, you are the only person to ever see this technique and live. Be prepared to lose. This fight is now over. Kakazu shot forward with outrageous speed, his longer legs and overall taller body allowed him to increase his speed to the point that Yujito could barely keep up. Yujito blocked a kick that very well could have caved her head in, resulting in her right arm fracturing. Pushing the pain aside, she used the block to lash out with a quick and powerful jab to where she believed his earth heart was, only for it to be slapped away as they separated. You're still a match for me while you're using that cloak, but let's see you keep up with my ninjutsu. Stated Kakazu as his elongated arms came together and started forming hand seals. Feel the true power of the Earth Grudge Fear. Collaboration style. Grand Fire Funeral. Combining the power of his wind and fire hearts, Kakazu blew a giant white hot fire stream at the Nibi Jinchuriki, hoping that his fire would be stronger than her cloak. He watched as his fire raced towards the blonde Jinchuriki, who flared her demonic chakra to prepare for the hit. As the fire collided with her, a huge explosion rocked the area, blinding everyone in sight. Kakazu stood on guard as he watched the flames die down, hoping to find the incapacitated body of his opponent. His eyes widened in shock as the flames died down, a large purple, spectral figure appeared. Inside the giant chakra construct stood his target, as well as the Hokage's known right-hand man, Sasuke. Sorry about that, but Dope would kill me if she died. Team 7 vs Kisame and Tobi. Much like his brother, Itachi had just arrived and now stood between Tobi and Izumi. Shisui and Rimi stood behind their teammate, all 3 ready to continue fighting. You all did well. To stand up and even hold off 2S rank ninja is a feat most Jonin teams cannot accomplish. You 3 take cover, I'll finish this fight. Stated Itachi as his eyes changed from their 3 Tomo state into his eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Well, hello again, Itachi. Long time no see, partner. I see you're still as strong as ever. Stated Kisame with a shark-like grin. Kisame, still a fool. You stand no chance against me. Stated Itachi before looking to the masked man. And I know your secrets, Tobi, and from what I can see, so do these 3. You both stand no chance against me, let alone with these 3 by my side. It's time for you to die. Big words, Itachi. Stated Tobi, his voice no longer childish but serious and lacking any kind of emotion. But it is somewhat true. Kisame stands no chance against you, but I do, and it's time for me to announce my return to the world. Soon you shall all cower under the name Madara. In an instant, Tobi and Kisame disappeared in a swirl of distorted air, leaving no trace of them ever being there. Madara. But he's dead. There's no way that could be him. Stated Shisui, having read up on the Uchiha clan for the last 3 years, he had come across no evidence of Madara being alive. It is very unlikely, but not impossible. The Sharingan is a very powerful tool. It is possible to escape death using it. Though I know for a fact that that man is not Madara. Stated Itachi. His eyes never leaving the spot that the Akatsuki duo had just left from. That jutsu originated from his eye, but that would mean it is a Sharingan jutsu. The only way for a jutsu like that to exist is through the Manjikyu. Me and Sasuke have Tsukiyomi and the Susanoo, and Shisui had Kodomatsukami. Does that mean that he has Madara's eyes, or is he yet another Uchiha? Itachi was taken out of his musings as he felt his brother land beside him. Kakazu vanished in a weird swirling thing before I could kill him. What do we do now? Yujito says she can't sense them in the area. For now Yujito and Naruto's team will rest. Until Naruto has defeated his opponent, we will search the village for any more enemies that may have slipped through our ranks. Naruto vs Pain. Naruto stood before the 3 remaining paths silently, his sage mode gone, but his Dijutsu still active. Where is he? The paths are still here, but where did he go? Thought Naruto as he scanned the area with his senses. Suddenly, all 3 paths sprung at Naruto, each aiming to hit the blonde in different areas. Naruto jumped out of the way, using his still outstanding speed to get around the attacking paths and deliver a Rasengan to its back, only to be taken surprised as another path countered by grabbing him in a full Nelson. Naruto attempted to simply muscle out of the path's grip but found it impossible as the body holding him would steal his chakra. Finally, I have you trapped. Naruto looked up to see Nagato standing in front of him, their eyes locking. You're far too dangerous to me to allow you to live. We can retrieve Kyuubi later. For now, I will add your power to mine. Naruto started to panic as Nagato placed his hand on his head. Soul absorption jutsu. Naruto felt his chakra leaving him rapidly before he smiled. Nagato's eyes widened when the soul absorption jutsu began to fail. Boom. Muttered Naruto manically as Nagato's eyes threatened to leave his head. The Naruto being held exploded violently, taking out the path holding him and the one to his right. Nagato and the Diva path had barely escaped the explosion that took a large chunk of the surrounding forest and began searching for the blonde that had repeatedly taken down his paths. This has gone far enough. I'll wipe this whole village off the face of the planet. Gaara vs Deidara. Almost there, all I need is another 10 seconds. Where is his partner? Thought Gaara warily. What is this jutsu? There's no way it's just a sand dragon. Shouted Deidara in a rage. He had used up a whole chunk of his chakra just dodging the damn thing, and while he still had enough clay, he didn't know if he had the chakra to do anything with it. There's a reason it's in Uzumaki Jutsu. They were masters of ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu. Now you will know just how powerful an Uzumaki Jutsu can be. Stated Gaara as he felt his chakra reach the level needed for this jutsu to work. With a mental command, the sand dragon exploded apart, raining down chakra-infused sand all across the area. Using his mastery over sand, Gaara created an absolutely huge hand that snatched Deidara out of the sky and began crushing him. Now to make sure you die. Uzumaki style. Sand static electrocution. The entire sand arm began vibrating, creating a huge amount of natural electricity that was channeled into Deidara's body. An ear-splitting cry of absolute agony was heard across the village as Deidara, the mad bomber of Iwa, had enough electricity to light a village forcibly pass through his body, frying him from the inside out. Gaara dropped the jutsu, feeling the enormous strain it puts on one's chakra network take effect. He watched as the charred body of the Akatsuki member fell to the desert, impacting with tremendous force. Though that didn't matter. He was dead before he hit the ground. As Gaara watched the lifeless body on the ground, he saw his partner finally make his appearance. The hunched-over Akatsuki quickly picked up the body with its huge metal tail and took off through the desert, fleeing Suna and heading towards river country. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. Be safe, Naruto. Mount Izuna. This battle is over. Stated Madara as he turned to leave, completely confident in his assessment. But grandfather, Pain still has 2 paths left. Stated Shisui, not wanting to abandon his post. No. He has just figured out how to defeat Nagato. We must prepare to retrieve my eyes and perhaps yours as well. Now come. Stated Madara as he made his way down the mountain. Shisui took one last look at his student and his son before following the ancient Uchiha down the mountain. Branches. You may as well kill me. I'll never talk, I'd sooner take my own life. Shouted the last remaining Iwa Jonin, his companions littering the ground around him as he struggled to stand. Oh, you'll talk. But you won't be talking to any of us, Leaf Nin. Stated Zabuza with a sinister grin that seemed to show even through his mask. That's right. We're going to send you back to Iwa and you're going to tell your cage exactly what happened here today. Stated Asuma matching Zabuza's grin with one of his own. Don't worry though, we'll send our demands with you. That way Kitsuchi will learn everything at once, the fact that this invasion was a complete failure, the fact that you told us that he sent you to attack, and to top it all off, the reparations we're going to demand. Stated Kakashi with an eye smile. Naruto vs Pain. Nagato and the Diva path rocketed skyward. Their goal? They were going to wipe Konoha off the map using Shinra Tensei. Nagato was studying the village, trying to decide where to activate the jutsu when suddenly, something dawned on him. When did I get my vision back? Suddenly, Naruto was in between Nagato and the Diva path, a Rasengan in hand as he lashed out at Nagato. Unfortunately, Nagato reacted quickly, using his pre-top path to absorb the Rasengan and his Asura path to overpower him, once again capturing in a full Nelson and draining his chakra. Now watch, and I will show you the true meaning of pain. And I'll be using your chakra to do it. Stated Nagato as the Diva path raised his palm to the village. Shinra Tens. Soul absorption jutsu. Time stood still as Nagato felt a hand on his head. Behind him was Naruto, his left hand extended out, pulling a translucent figure out of the top of Nagato's head. Through the Diva path, Nagato saw the blonde behind his real body, wind chakra around his feet and wrists, and to his horror, there was a set of blue Rinnegan staring back at him. He looked to the Naruto that his main body was holding, only to see it poof away in smoke. "Damn you," stated Nagato before all life left him. Both bodies began plummeting to the ground. Naruto was caught off guard as the last of his chakra was drained and his mind was overloaded. Flashes of Nagato's life appeared in his subconscious, overloading his brain as his mind tried to sort all of the information. Due to the overload of information and lack of chakra, Naruto passed out and began falling to earth. Konoha. All around the village of Konoha, ninja cheered as they watched both the men Naruto had been fighting go limp and began plummeting to the ground. The cheers turned to shouts and cries of concern as Naruto then too went limp and began falling to earth. Several ninjas sprung into action attempting to catch their leader, but unfortunately, none were fast enough. All around the village, cries of shock and agony sounded as the limp body of Naruto crashed violently into the ground. This is bad. If Naruto can't recover from the mental strain, the whole plan will be ruined. How is my son taking all of this? Shouted Shisui as he paced back and forth in the bunker with Madara. Stop that infernal pacing. You remind me far too much of Hashirama than I care for. Demanded the Uchiha patriarch, his eyes closed and his body relaxed as he leaned up against the wall of the dark room. But grandpa, Naruto is like a son to me and Shisui is my actual son. How would you like it if me or my father was lying somewhere in a hospital bed and there was nothing you could do about it? Enough. Shouted Madara as he exploded from his spot and slapped Shisui into the wall. Do you forget that I watch all 5 of my brothers die? Do you forget that I had to sit back and watch your father die a pointless death for that pitiful clan of ours? Enough. Both of you. Shouted a voice from the shadows. The Uchihas froze before slowly turning to see an older man with dark red hair staring holes through them. I didn't revive you Madara, create new eyes for you Shisui, pull the Sanbi from Yagura and place it in that damn Senju so that you can throw a goddamn temper tantrum. And before either of you idiots say anything, I will remind you that I lost both my daughters at that imposter. In Konoha Hospital. How is it possible that no one was there to help break his fall? Questioned a pissed-off Tsunade, who was currently acting Hokage, while the younger blonde laid in the bed before her. It had been the longest 12 hours in the history of the Hidden Leaf, as most of the population had watched their leader fall from an enormous height before he disappeared behind the buildings. And now they didn't know if their leader was okay or even alive. Itachi, Sasuke and Kakashi all stood on the opposite side of the bed of Tsunade. It was Kakashi who spoke first. I was watching. Right as Naruto delivered his last attack, he seemed to pull a wide energy construct out of the body. There was a pulse of energy right after that and Naruto was flung to the ground. That would make sense. I had my EMS activated at the time and he seemed to be falling at an incredible rate, like he was forced to the ground. Stated Sasuke as he looked to his best friend. Come on Dope, you can do this. Wake up. This village needs their leader. During the following silence, Jiraiya entered the room. Ma and Pa took all the extra bodies with them, we saw Konan taking Nagato's body away. Pa said something about the rods having nature chakra in them. He wants Naruto to help do some tests when he gets the chance and wakes up. Has he woken up yet? No. Hasn't even moved. He's almost healed from the fall, his right leg needs some work, but Sakura and Shizune have managed to reconstruct most of his femur, and Haku healed his back. Answered Tsunade. Have you sent word to the other leaders? What of Daimyo Tsuki? Yes, Gaara and A have already responded. Gaara defeated one of his attackers, but the other escaped. He's having Baki watch the village. He'll be here in about 2 days. Tsuki will be here tomorrow afternoon. He said that he would personally overlook the reconstruction since Naruto is out of action. Stated Jiraiya. I've sent a group to meet him, hopefully he gets here without incident. What of Asama and Mei-sama? Questioned Itachi. Mei has yet to respond and A is on his way as well. I assume Temari will be making her way with Gaara. Stated Jiraiya before he looked to Sasuke. How good are you at the Hiraishin? Same as Genma and Raido. Stated Sasuke. I can teleport to him and with the other 2 we can teleport people to markers. Alright, get Genma and Raido and get to Mei, bring her here. Stated Tsunade. Then get to Tsuki and assist in escorting him here as well. Sasuke nodded and with one last glance at his best friend and leader, left. Naruto. Why won't you wake up? Questioned Jiraiya to himself, though Tsunade gave an answer. There's an enormous amount of activity in his brain, thought he doesn't have any injury there. Whatever happened during the final seconds of that battle has injured his mind. Stated Tsunade, only getting a grim nod from Jiraiya to signal he understood. How are the branches? Zabuza is taking it pretty hard, he loves Naruto like a son, and it's eating him alive that he couldn't make it in time. Stated Kakashi, his legendary orange book nowhere to be found as he himself was having trouble holding it together. Asuma and Guy are with Zabuza and Haku. Added Itachi, emotionless as usual, but holding back his emotions was harder to do than usual. Jiraiya, what are you picking up from Iwa and the minor nations? Questioned Tsunade. Iwa is hard to read right now. They've been building their forces, which would indicate that they were gearing up for war, but they've been taking more missions than usual, higher rank ones. I don't truly know what they're doing. Stated the Toad Sage. Iwa usually takes in ridiculous amounts of low-end missions, thinking that quantity over quality would be best, much like their ninja. But since Katsuchi took over, they've had multiple high-end missions that usually go to us or Kumo. Suddenly, a Chunin broke into the room panting, looking like he had been running from the devil himself. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, other samas. Everyone in the room sweat dropped at the hurried, yet respectful addressing of the out-of-breath Chunin. Tsunade, figuring it was important, responded. Yes Kuna, what is so important that you would break through the door and past the Anbu which should be guarding it? Said Chunin simply held up a scroll. A message from the Tsuchikage. Before the Chunin could even blink, the four conscious members of the room were surrounding him, Itachi and Kakashi had their Sharingan active and glaring at the scroll, seeing if there was any chakra trapped inside. Getting a nod from the Sharingan users, Jiraiya took the scroll and opened it, revealing the message. Namikaze. I would like a civil meeting between the 5 great nations. Held at a neutral site, my suggestion is Iron Country. I will be awaiting your response. Know that if this meeting is missed by any one nation, there will be consequences. I have extended this plan to each individual cage as well as Lord Milfune. Itsuchi. Yondaime Tsuchikage. We need Naruto for this. Stated Jiraiya bluntly. Why would Katsuchi call for something like this? There's no way that he's fully recovered and Iwa is still weak from invading the Kumo Chunin exams. The Iwa ninja we killed said that they hired Akatsuki to attack Konoha. Perhaps Katsuchi believes that Naruto was killed by pain or that the village lost a good amount of manpower due to the invasion. Stated Kakashi. We will ask him when he awakens. Stated Itachi. But it does seem odd that he would go so far as to suggest something like this. Especially with Naruto still as a factor. Didn't they see what he did in Kiri and in the Chunin exams? Questioned Sasuke rhetorically. Iwa. Are you sure they will go for this, sir? After all, we have no reports that Namikaze died in the fight. If he's still alive, the plan won't work. Stated Kuretsuchi, the niece of Katsuchi. Yes, even if he survived, he will be weak. None of the other countries will try anything in Iron Country. Plus we have Mifune's support if things don't go as planned. For now we simply wait. Stated Katsuchi. What do we do about Akatsuki? Are we going to pay them? Questioned Kuretsuchi. If they succeed, then yes, but if not, then we will part ways. Akatsuki hideout. I should have known pain would fail, the god aim is too intelligent to fall for his tricks. Did you recover his body? Tobito questioned in a serious voice. Yes. Answered Zetsu. But the toads took the paths with them. Good. Was Obito's reply as he moved towards the statue. The path's eyes are simply cheap knockoffs anyway. They are of no use. So what's next? With Pain gone, Konan leaving, Haiden now more useless than ever and Deidara dead, we don't have the manpower to complete the mission. Stated Kakazu. Yes we do. You will all have one of the captured beasts sealed within you. Stated Obito, shocking them all. But that will kill us. No Biju can be sealed into an adult. Stated Sasori. You will all survive. Kisame will survive due to his already massive chakra pools, Sasori only has a heart, so as long as we seal it there will be no problem. Kakazu, you have 5 hearts, meaning you have 5 chakra coils, you can easily handle it, and Zetsu, you are made of the DNA of Hashirama Senju. You will easily be able to handle a Biju. Stated Obito. That leaves you. Stated Zetsu. I will be reclaiming my eye from pain. Everyone prepare. Kakazu will have Yambi sealed in him, Sasori will have Gobi, Kisame will have Rakubi, and Zetsu will have Nanabi. Konoha Hospital. Aku and Sakura sat next to Naruto, who had yet to move. Sasuke had been there earlier, but only for a short while, before saying goodbye to Haku and leaving with the rest of the bodyguard squad on their assignment. I just don't understand. He's taken more damage than this and walked away smiling. How is this time any different? Questioned Sakura as she looked over her old teammate before checking the clipboard at the foot of the bed. It doesn't make sense. Stated Haku. His nerves and mind are constantly active, yet he doesn't move at all. It's as if he doesn't want to wake up or possibly can't. Everyone has their limits. Both girls look to the door, seeing none other than Kasuke Maraboshi, the eternal genin, a short old man who while skilled, was never promoted. What do you mean Kasuke? Naruto is 16 and has a healing factor way faster than anything in recorded history, even Shaden didn't have the stamina and recovery time Naruto does. Stated Sakura. You're a very talented medic Sakura and you as well Haku. But what I speak of is not medical as much as it is mental. Each shinobi has a limit to which they can perform before they lose the will to keep fighting. And I don't mean physically. Some shinobi are placed under enormous strain and are slowly crushed by it. Tobirama-sensei lost his during the First Great War. Sarutobi lost his after the Kyuubi attack, though regained it briefly. Naruto-sama may have lost his during his fight. After all, the damage that he has taken and the hell he went through as a boy does not help. Have you lost yours? Questioned Haku. I lost mine in a different way than most. I lost mine after I got my teammates killed when I was young. I found it after Tobirama-sensei beat it into me. Naruto-sama, if he does recover, may need to find a new fuel to fight with. Many shinobi burn out young. While Naruto-sama has many reasons to fight, he may not have the mental ability to. Meanwhile, in the mind of Naruto. Naruto watched in confusion as he was surrounded in a flow of chakra that spiraled fluently and rapidly in and out of his vision as it matched the colors of a rainbow. Quite the show. Isn't it? Naruto spun around to see a ghost-like silhouette that had glowing purple eyes and spiky hair. Who are you? Asked Naruto calmly, knowing that he was in his mind. Now Naruto. As a fellow Jinchuriki, you should know of me. We even both held Kurama. Stated the voice as the ghost solidified into a man, roughly the same height as Naruto, blonde spiky hair and glowing purple eyes. All the prior hosts of Kyuubi were females. And only in Uzumaki or Senju could hold Kyuubi. Stated Naruto as realization dawned on his face. You're the sage of 6 paths. Right, you are Naruto. But on top of that, you are my heir. Stated the ancient spirit. You see, both Tobirama of the Senju and Tamaki of the Uzumaki were both direct descendants of me. The Uzumaki more so than the Senju, but that is neither here nor there. What can I do for you Lord Sage? Questioned Naruto. Lord Sage you say? I rather like that. Though unlike you, I never did acquire the mastery that you have with nature. Though I do believe that my son, Arashi, was of equal stature in the arts of Senjutsu. After all, you and he were both trained by that little tadpole, what was his name? Fukasaku. Laughed the sage. Naruto smiled before he saw the Rinnegan of his ancestor flex with power. But now is not the time to speak of Fukasaku and his magic walking stick of nature. It is time to tell you what exactly I'm doing here. I once defeated a great monster. A being of such power that it was referred to as a god. It will be revived. You are the one that will stop it. Listen well. The light show you are seeing is the memories of the one you absorbed. You are also absorbing his Rinnegan traits. From what I deduce, the result will be that of my true eyes. You will use it well. When you awaken, your body will be weak and your mind will be full of old experiences you never had any part of. You must fight through this and you must set into place events to unite as many as possible. The eye of the storm is near and the darkest hour will overtake the world before it is reborn in the eye of the strongest. The sage then started to phase out. You will choose and your future will directly change the future. The direction you take will only be clear at the very end. What do you mean? What is this monster? Questioned Naruto as the sage of 6 paths faded away. Now where would be the fun in that? If I tell you, then it won't be your choice. Laughed the sage as he disappeared. It is not always the most powerful or smartest that make the strongest, sometimes it is the ability to give everything, knowing you have nothing more to give. Before Naruto had a chance to respond, everything went dark. Suddenly, scenes started playing before Naruto's eyes. He watched as a pair of Konohanins killed some adults, then he was looking at a familiar blue-haired girl and an orange-haired boy in what appeared to be a cave. The orange-haired boy had determination in his eyes that rivaled Hyon. She looks like that Akatsuki woman that was with Pain. Could this be what the sage was telling me about? Then he was following 3 ninja, they seemed young, though held an obvious power. One man with long white hair, one woman with long blonde hair and one man with long black hair. Then the man with white hair turned around. Pervy sage. What is Jiraiya doing here? Wait, that's Granny and Orochimaru. What the hell? Thought Naruto as several more similar images passed before his eyes, leaving more and more confused. Suddenly, Naruto was looking out over a city, with buildings that seemed to continue on into forever, as the ground was not visible from his height. To think, just 10 years ago we were fighting for our lives on those very streets. Naruto turned slowly to see the blue-haired woman once again, though she wasn't in her Akatsuki cloak, just her black pants and grey top. I believe in your dream Nagato. But it cannot be completely achieved through fear. Don't you remember what he taught us? Suddenly, the world went dark again, and Naruto found himself slowly appearing by the Kyuubi, though now his cage resembled the inside of a skyscraper. What the hell is happening? Why has my cage changed? Demanded Kurama. Naruto simply stared blankly into space before his eyes regained focus, and he locked eyes with the great fox. Kurama. We need to talk about something very. Naruto's eyes turned purple, then red before the rings filled with Tomo's important. Father. With A. Hurry the hell up. We need to get to Konoha. Shouted A as he charged out the gates, not bothering to even look at the guards, B and Derry following him. No delay, brokage. Let's get movin' before Iwa gets groovin'. B, that was terrible. Sweat dropped Derry. I'm just worried about the kid. No Jinchuriki should be out of commission for long, especially the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Stated B solemnly. 12 hours is a long time for us and Yujito must be losing her mind. I'm sure he's fine. He's the strongest man in the world for a reason. Stated Derry. Right sir. Let's just get there as soon as possible. Stated A as he increased his speed, an unreadable expression on his face, well, unreadable to everyone by his brother. You're afraid A. You truly are afraid. And so am I. With Gaara. Hurry up. Shouted Tamari from her spot next to Gaara on a giant chunk of floating sand. I'm going as fast as I can. I want to be there just as bad as you do. Stated Gaara. He's going to be okay, right? That's what the letter from Lady Tsunade said. Questioned Tamari desperately. I'll be honest Tamari. Lady Tsunade is unsure of his condition, same with Haku and Sakura. Stated Gaara. No man is indestructible. Even us Jinchuriki are still mortals. Naruto has been through the ringer time and again. He has his limits as well as everyone. He may have reached his. But Sasuke, Genma and Raido appeared in the office of the Mizukage, shocking the occupants of said room. After a moment, Mei regained herself and stood from her desk. Naruto would not have sent you unless something big had happened. Has Akatsuki attacked? Mei, Naruto didn't send us. Stated Sasuke seriously. Mei seemed to know instantly what Sasuke was implying as her face lost all color. Everyone but Sasuke, out now. As several Kiri and Konoha nin scrambled out of the room, Sasuke and Mei locked eyes. As the door clicked shut, Sasuke found himself staring into the eyes of a very concerned Mizukage. Tell me Sasuke. Tell me right now what happened to my Naruto. He's in a coma, Lady Tsunade says she has no idea why he isn't waking up. In Konoha. Vegito was standing over Naruto's hospital bed, her eyes puffy from holding back the tears that threatened to explode from her eyes. Vegito. Is sensei going to be okay? Questioned Rimi, who was being held up by Azumi and Shisui. Do not worry young one, we're going to help your sensei. Vegito whipped around to face the men that had managed to sneak in behind her, only to see two men that were feared in Kumo, as well as everywhere else in the world. You're. Stuttered Yujito as she fell into panic. You can't be here. You're both dead. You're both dead. Oakumo Kenwaichi. How fitting. Stated the taller figure, the aura of power around him stifling. Vegito Nisan. Who are those people? Questioned Azumi, stepping in front of his sensei's bedridden form. The Sanbi Jinchuriki. So this is who he sealed the beast in. Interesting. Stated the taller figure. How did you know he was the Jinchuriki? Questioned Shisui Jr., his Sharingan blazing to life and staring at the cloaked figures as he moved next to Azumi, Rimi falling in next to him. He seems to have grown well. His chakra presence is very strong. All three of them. Stated the taller one, his eyes never leaving Naruto. Indeed. Stated the shorter one, his gaze holding on Shisui Jr. for a second longer than the others. He then turned towards Yujito. I will try to awaken him, but you must promise that you will not inform anyone that it was us that helped. Understood. Yujito was conflicted. If these two could help him out, then they were probably on their side, but if they weren't, then it could end badly. What choice do I have? Even if I could defeat you, there's no way I would stand a chance against him. I won't let you hurt Naruto-sensei. Shouted Shisui as he started moving for his sword. It's okay Shisui. They're here to help. Stated Yujito, sounding a lot more sure than she was. Very well. Try and awaken him, if not I'll be forced to use it. Stated the taller figure as the shorter one moved forward, carefully moving around the kids and placing a hand on Naruto's forehead. Totsukiyomi. Iwa. Sir, reports are that each cage that is in alliance with Konoha has left their villages and are heading towards Konoha. Itsuchi nodded to the jonin in front of him. Good. They will all meet in the Hidden Leaf and will most likely travel to Iron Country together. Sir, is that what we want? We still don't know what Akatsuki have planned and they will most likely travel in lands we border. Questioned Kuretsuchi, who had become second in command after Kitsuchi had been injured. Akatsuki will side with us, or at the very least against Konoha. And if they travel through our allies, then we can keep tabs on them on their way to and from the summit. Stated Kitsuchi. The only problem will come from who they will send. If the Namikaze goes, then the plan will hit a snag. If it's anyone else in his place, we will know he's out of commission. Konoha. What are you doing to him? Questioned Yujiro, who had heard stories of the legendary Shisui of the body flicker, and none of them were good. I'm trying to create a command to wake up. Stated Shisui in concentration. Hurry up Shisui. I can feel the Mizukage and another Uchiha coming. Stated the older Uchiha. Shisui. But that's my name. Stated Shisui Jr. That means you're. Suddenly Naruto shot up, gasping for breath. His bloodshot eyes scanning the room and landing on the older male. After a brief second, his eyes shifted into red eyes with 9 Tomo. Leave. Now. Gates of Konoha. In a literal flash of movement, 3 dark-skinned men appeared at the main gates of Konoha. Hello Reikage-sama, B-sama. I take it you've heard about Naruto? Questioned Katetsu. Indeed. I take it you two will sign me in while I go to Tsunade. Stated A as he and B moved towards the Hokage Tower, Derry offering an apology as he followed them. Hokage Tower. Good morning A, I see you made it here soon as you did. Stated Tsunade, who sat behind the desk that very well could have been hers. Not much is good about it. Has there been any change in his condition? Questioned A as he sat his massive frame into one of the seats across from the interim Hokage. No, he's still unresponsive. The activity in his brain is staggering, but his brain has shut off the rest of his body to prevent further injury. Stated Tsunade. So his body is slowly decaying because his muscles can't be used. Even if he wakes up he will be in a weakened state. Stated Derry. Unfortunately yes. Stated Tsunade. After we repaired all his physical injuries, I ordered doctors to. That was the hospital. Naruto. Hospital. Standing on the wrecked roof of the hospital was the Goddamn Hokage, a hospital gown covering his dignity, though you could still see chakra exploding around him. Across from him stood a man he would consider to be a much stronger shinobi than himself. What are you doing here? How are you alive? How is he alive? Questioned Naruto, his eyes still red with 9 Tomo. I was sent here. I lived a very long life and he has unfinished business in this world. Stated Madara, who stood to the other side of the large crater in the roof. Who sent you? Don't you dare lie to me Madara. I'm not the same kid you met 3 years ago. Stated Naruto, his chakra flailing even more wildly, his hair standing up on end. I have no reason to lie. I believe you've met him. Horns, red or blonde hair. Purple ringed eyes. Stated the elder Uchiha. One in the middle of his forehead. You mean the sage? Stated Naruto a bit more calmly. Yes, but I have much to do. I believe I held you up long enough to allow Shisui to wipe your students and the Kumo Kunoichi's memory. I'll make my leave now. Stated Madara as he disappeared. Iwa is ready to strike. I know he was dead. And he wasn't an Edo Tensei. He was actually brought back to life somehow. And Shisui too. Itachi said that he was dead, jumped into the Naka River. Thought Naruto as he looked over the village. How long was I out? Naruto. Naruto looked down to see Mei and Sasuke in the ruins of his hospital room. Mei was staring up through the hole in the ceiling at him, while Sasuke was checking on Yujiro, who was unconscious on the ground next to the members of Team Naruto. Hi Mai-chan. You're a sight for sore eyes. Sasuke, they're fine. Move them to my home. Then summon Grandma and Pervy Sage there. I'll meet you there. And with that, Naruto disappeared. Main gate. Ara and Temari arrived to see Izumo paying Katetsu a few bills. Upon seeing the raised eyebrow of the Kazekage, Izumo spoke. We had a bet that you would be the next to pass the gates, he thought Mizukage-sama would be next. So I am to assume that A is already here. Stated Gaara as he moved past the guard station, Temari right behind him. A flash of light appeared before the two and they both disappeared. Panicked, both the gate guards shouted for Anbu. Namikaze mansion. In a flash, Gaara and Temari found themselves in the living room of the Namikaze mansion. On one of the couches were Shisui, Azumi and Rimi. Behind the couch was Sasuke and Yujiro. On another couch was A and B, Derry was behind them. On the third couch was Mei. Gaara sat next to her, while Temari stood behind. The Haration brought us here. Am I to assume it was your squad Sasuke? Asked Gaara. No. Naruto is awake, but he's acting strangely. Well, he is acting like normal. Regular Naruto. I believe he's getting Lady Tsunade and the branches. Stated Sasuke. Just as he said that, a bright flash lit the room and Naruto, as well as Zabuza, Kakashi, Asuma, Itachi and Tsunade appeared. Naruto took a seat on the empty couch between Tsunade and Zabuza, while the others followed in behind them. I know you have a lot of questions, but before I begin, Yujiro, can you and Sasuke move my team to the rooms? Yujiro nodded and they scooped up the 3 students and left the room. What is the situation with Iwa? I want all the details. Stated Naruto. Seeing many concerned faces, he elaborated, or as many know it, lied. I was aware of my surroundings while I was out, but just enough to know that bad things were happening. Itsuchi has ordered a 5-cage summit, though Jiraiya says that an Iwa messenger has been spotted in Rice and in Iron Country. He says that he wants it to be held in Iron Country as they have a long-standing history of being neutral. Also, everyone is to bring a maximum of 2 guards. Stated Tsunade. Alright. Anything else regarding that? I assume you all got the summons as well? Naruto asked. Receiving several nods, he leaned back in his spot and frowned. It's a trap. A poor one, but a trap. Iron Country, while never aligning with anyone, has a trading treaty with Iwa. Which means anything conflict-related will be against us. He must know I'm weak right now, and even if I bought Jiraiya and Itachi, no one group would be able to overpower both the Iwa group and the samurai. Stated Naruto. True. But we have each other. There's no way they could overpower 12S class ninja. Stated Mei. That's why I think it's a trap. If there truly is an Iwa messenger in Rice, Orochimaru will be there, and with his Ito Tensei, I doubt we would stand up to whatever he can summon. Stated Itachi. Right. But as it was an actual request to a neutral location, we cannot ignore it. Stated Naruto. Who will you all bring? I will bring Derry and CB needs to protect the village. Stated A. I'll bring Chijiro, but Ao needs to stay in the village. Stated Mei, her face confused and concentrated. I will use the War Reclamation Act to reclaim Zabuza for the summit if you both don't mind. That's fine with me. I will serve under you until I'm needed here. Stated Zabuza. Naruto just nodded. I will bring Temari and Mitsuri. Kenkuro will watch over the village with Baki. Stated Gaara. Just leaves me. Stated Naruto. Sasuke and Jiraiya. That way the branches can stay and I can keep Yujiro and Azumi safe from Akatsuki while we are preoccupied. I'll continue to watch the village while you rest and prepare. I'll also summon Jiraiya back to the village. If we want Iwa to stay in the dark about this meeting, it must seem as if Naruto is still comatose. Stated Tsunade. Good. Everyone not going to the summit is dismissed. Stated Naruto, a prankster smile coming over his face. Let's set a trap for Iwa. Next day, Iwa. Sir, we have a message from Konoha and a message from Kumo. Stated Kuretsuchi. Well, give them here. Stated Kitsuchi as he reached for the 2 scrolls, but winced as the pain in his ribs resurfaced. Damn that Namikaze. Hopefully he will be in worse shape than I. Itsuchi read over Kumo's response. Good. Kumo will attend the meeting. Though I wish I knew who he will be using as bodyguards. Most likely they're Jinchuriki and Derry of the Black Lightning. Stated Kuretsuchi. Indeed. Stated Kitsuchi. He eyed the Konoha scroll wearily, it wouldn't be the first time he opened a trap scroll. Stealing his nerves, he broke the seal and tensed. Nothing happened. He opened the scroll to reveal its contents. Tsuchikage. Konoha will send Jiraiya of the Sannin and 2 others to the delegation in Iron Country. Yes. If that political idiot is Konoha's envoy, then we can use any mess up he causes to spark a war with a weakened Konoha. Stated Kitsuchi, his mind soaring as he thought how well his plan came together. I thought that Jiraiya was one of the most feared men in the world. He is known as the Toad Sage, the same title that Namikaze has. Stated Akatsuchi, who had been standing by the door when Kuretsuchi walked in. While it's true he's powerful, he's a buffoon outside of battle. I wouldn't be surprised if he declares war on us. Next day, Konoha. Naruto sat at his desk, his body weak and his mind racing. All of these memories, they're not my own, yet they feel like they are. And these new abilities I've learned, they're powerful. I can see why Nagato thought of himself as a god. The power of gravity, the ability to bring people back to life. It's frightening. Truth was, Naruto had considered bringing Nagato back, but hadn't known how, and it was probably better that he remained dead anyway. A knock at the door aroused him from his musings. Come in. Unknown location. The masked man stood before his subordinates. His only visible eye closed as if in deep thought. Reports from Kumo. Shouted Zetsu as he rose from the ground. The Raikage plans on going to a summit in Iron Country. The summit? Who will be attending? Questioned Toby. So far we only know of Kumo and Iwa. Stated Zetsu. If Kumo is going, then so will Kiri, Suna and Konoha. Stated Sasori. How damaged is Konoha after Pain's attack? Not at all. No loss of life, and the only ninja out of commission was the Godame. Stated Toby. Sensei's son is indeed powerful. If I am to enact my plan, I'm going to need some help. We need more firepower then. If Konoha stood up to Pain, Kisame, you and the zombies, then they are very strong. Stated Sasori. We did not aim for deaths and damage. We aimed to get the targets and get out. It does not help that Nagato was blocked off from the village by the Godame," stated Toby. "Once the Yobi is sealed in Kakazu, get ready to have the Gobi sealed in you." Didn't sound. "Kabuto. Someone just entered our wing," stated Orochimaru dangerously. "Eyes, sir. I believe it's the messenger from Iwa. You did leave a standing order to let them in," stated Kabuto. After a few seconds, Orochimaru smiled. "Oh yes, that's right." A moment later, there was a knock at the chamber door. "Lord Orochimaru, Lord Kabuto. An Iwa messenger is here." "Send them in," commanded Orochimaru. An Iwa ninja walked in, terror in his eyes. Judging from his sash, he was a member of the Explosives Corps. "Lord Orochimaru-sama. Kitsuchi-sama sends this message as an act of friendship." The Iwa ninja unsealed a scroll and placed it in the ground, opening it and backing away as he wearily moved away from said scroll. Having enough of the Iwa ninja's antics, Kabuto picked up the scroll and read its contents, his eyes widening. "This is dated almost a week ago. I'm sorry, but I was sent to the North Base," stated the Iwa nin. "Then it's Kitsuchi's fault. Can't kill you for following orders," stated Orochimaru with a frown as he moved to take the scroll from Kabuto and read it. "A summit It doesn't say that we are invited, but it does say the location and the time. Could we use this to attack Konoha while some key members are out of commission?" questioned Kabuto, pushing his glasses up. "No, the brat can just flash back to Konoha if he wishes, and those infernal branches will forever be a thorn in my side," stated Orochimaru with a grimace before a sinister smile crossed his pale face. "Kabuto, go fetch me a few of the weaker test subjects. I need souls." Breakage's office, 3 days later. He sat patiently at his desk, waiting for Derry and C to arrive so that they could depart to Iron Country. Unfortunately, B was up to something that he wouldn't tell A about, but it had something to do with the massive spikes of demonic chakra felt from his home. "Any idea what he's up to, Osama?" questioned Derry as he and C walked in. "No clue. He said he was working on something and won't tell me what," stated A. "Are we ready to leave?" "Yes, all ready. If we leave in 2 hours, we will make it in time to be the peacekeeper between Naruto and Iwa," stated Derry. "Suna." Gaara stood at the gates of Suna, Tamari and Mitsuri behind him as he waved goodbye to his people. "Come back soon. Protect the Kazukiage. Have my children," shouted one voice as a pair of panties hit Gaara in the face. "Neither of you will tell anyone of this," stated Gaara as the panties slid from his face. "Especially Naruto." Kiri. Mei looked out over her village as she, Chijiro and Zabuza all walked away from the gates. "This will be a very trying time for the ninja world." "Yes, it will. But the brat will make everything right. He always does," stated Zabuza. "But Naruto-sama just woke up from a coma. Is he strong enough to fight off Iwa if they wage war?" questioned Chijiro. "He won't have to. The branches are more than capable of taking down a nation. Even one as big as Iwa." "Iwa? Are you ready, sir?" asked Kuretsuchi, her voice showing worry. "The Jonin say that a war with Konoha would destroy us. What are you thinking, uncle?" "Yes, let's move. I cannot wait for the summit," stated Kitsuchi, his hands balled into fists as his nails dug into his palms. "Have you perfected the dust release yet, sir?" asked Akatsuchi, the large bulking man behind him. "You should have never killed Inoki, Namikaze. Now we have a real leader as Cage, and the village of the Leafs will burn to the ground." "I have the basics down," stated Kitsuchi proudly as he began to float. He took the hands of his 2 bodyguards and took to the skies. "Soon, Namikaze, when I reveal your secret to the other nations, you will lose your allies and then I shall burn Konoha to the ground." Kitsuchi stood before the entrance to the meeting hall, a wide grin on his face as he greeted Mifune, the legendary swordsman who had stood toe-to-toe with the legendary Hanzo in his youth and walked away. Mifune did not share his grin. He saw this whole act as pointless and foolish. They both knew that the winner of this so-called meeting was the side that made the other trip up first. Mifune did not approve of such politics. Inoki was a much better tactician, one of best of his generation, even greater than himself, and on par with Hiruzen Sarutobi. Kitsuchi was much more like an intelligent bull in a china shop, pushing all the right buttons until something happened. "I cannot help but think that you are following in Mu's footsteps." Kitsuchi was about to speak before he noticed that the Kiri contingency was the first to arrive. "So I see Kiri is too weak to bring 2 of their own shinobi, you needed to borrow 1 from the Leaf." To everyone's surprise, Chijiro was the first to respond. "With all due respect, Tsuchikage-sama, the strength of an alliance is to lend the other members help in time of need. Also, Zabuza-sama was originally a Kiri ninja." "You dare speak to me, you little shit. I should kill you here and now," stated Kitsuchi. "I wouldn't do that." Kitsuchi looked up to see Gaara standing behind the Kiri ninja, his sand already hovering above the group. "As Chijiro said, we are an alliance. Let us not forget what happened the last time I would cross Suna." "I see." So you two are here. You traitors betrayed the position of our forces to Konoha in the Third War, something I'd like to repay you for. Now all we need is for A and whoever the Hokage sends," stated Kitsuchi. "Ah, but we are already here," shouted a loud boisterous voice. Everyone turned to see none other than Jiraiya the Sannin walking towards them, behind him were two cloaked figures. "Good to see you, Jiraiya, though I must admit, I thought the Hokage himself would have come," stated Mifune, having known Jiraiya for years. "I was looking forward to meeting young man. I would like to meet the one they call the Biju killer." "Good to see you as well, Mifune, you look much better than sensei did at your age," stated Jiraiya good-heartedly, gaining a laugh from Mifune. "Naruto is recovering from defeating the leader of the little group we're probably going to talk about today. I've seen less combat and hardships than Hiruzen did, but thank you for the compliment," stated Mifune with a smile. "Let us head into the chamber, I will let my samurai direct Rikajidono to the meeting room when he arrives. It's too bad the lad won't be here. I hear he's quite the swordsman." Jiraiya nods before looking to the cloaked figures behind him and nods. The two nod back and take off. "What is that about?" demanded Kitsuchi. "Planning on setting a trap, Toad Sage?" Jiraiya just smiled and waved the Tsuchikage off. "Don't worry, just a side mission. Mifune knows about it." "Unwise to enter a room full of cage-level ninja without bodyguards," stated Kitsuchi cockily. "Your status as a Sannin means nothing here. I doubt you would be able to hold your own at your age. You shit your pants last time we met in battle, and both of my previous and current students could wipe your village off the map. I feel confident nothing will happen that I can't handle. After all, even in my age, I trained the strongest man on the planet," stated Jiraiya as he moved past Kitsuchi, who could only growl in disgust. "Just you wait, Jiraiya, soon you and all of Konoha will burn." After the other cage entered the room, Kitsuchi's eyes flashed white and he dropped to his knees in pain. "What? Where am I? What am I doing here?" While Kitsuchi stood confused, another voice entered his mind. No, you will not regain control until the nations are at war. Now be a good boy and go stir up havoc. I will be there soon to help." Kitsuchi's eyes dulled as he stood back up. "Yes, master." Just outside of Iron Country. "We must thank Kitsuchi for this opportunity. I believe I might not kill him when this is all over," smiled Orochimaru as he walked through the snow. The Budo and another individual, who maintained a hood over their head, walked a few paces behind the pale Sannin. "Are you sure they won't attack you? You don't have many friends in that room," stated Kabuto carefully. "No need to worry, Kabuto, I have an escape plan if all goes wrong, though I doubt it will," stated Orochimaru with a grin. "After all, I'll have some help." "You will have more than help." "Konoha." "Halt. Who goes there?" "My name is Tryon, I need to speak with your cage." "Hive Cage Summit." Jiraiya sat at the head of the rounded table that sat in the middle of the room, a large leaf symbol behind him as he leaned back in his chair. To his right was Gaara, who seemed annoyed, but that was usual. To Gaara's right was Mei, who was playing with her hair. To Jiraiya's left was A, who seemed just as bored as Mei. On A's left was Kitsuchi, who was growing angry that Mifune had refused to start the meeting for some unknown reason. "Mifune, no. Can we please start this meeting? When the Hokage takes his place, we will start this meeting. Why don't you ask Jiraiya what is taking him so long?" stated Mifune. Kitsuchi rounded at Jiraiya with fire in his eyes. "What is going on? Are you not the acting cage?" Jiraiya snorted and began laughing. "Me? Hokage? That's a laugh, I would never want to take that hat. Besides, you really think anyone would let me lead a village? I'm a pervert." "Then who is the acting Hokage? This is supposed to be a meeting between the cages, not a spy convention," shouted Kitsuchi, but was silenced when the two cloaked bodyguards appeared in the room with 6 dead bodies, all having Iowa headband. "So Kitsuchi. What were you saying about a spy convention?" "Unknown hideout." Laying on an examination table in the middle of a bare room was a body, covered in scars. Around the body were many doctors, working feverishly at whatever assignment they had been given. "He seems stable. His body will take time to adapt to his new additions, but he should be ready to move around in a few days," stated the head surgeon to a pale teen. The teen nodded, with his job done, he left the room. There was much to be done and not much time to do it in. Back at the table, the subject was stirring and twitching. All the surgeons took a step back in case their leader turned violent. As the figure sat up, the head surgeon stepped forward. "My lord, we have successfully completed the surgeries you requested, you should be fully healed in just over 2 weeks. How long until I can move freely?" 3 days, Lord Danzo." "Hive Cage Summit. What is the meaning of this?" questioned Kitsuchi as he looked past his ninja to the 2 cloaked figures. "I think it's obvious, those 2 found the spies you had in the shadows," laughed Jiraiya. "Did you really think you could pass a spy by me? I am the spy master. Not even my student can surpass my skills in espionage." You say you're not the acting Hokage, yet you pose as such. These men were an insurance policy if the Leaf or any other nation were to pull such trickery as you have. Stated Kitsuchi as he took an aggressive stance. You send these two away and pose as the Hokage. How can I be sure this isn't some trick? Jiraiya laughed deeply as he pointed to one of the two cloaked men. Because the god Aim and his partner stand before you. Kitsuchi froze as Naruto and Sasuke removed their robes, showing them both in full battle attire, Sasuke in Madara's armor, Naruto in Tobirama's. Hello Kitsuchi, my apologies for keeping you waiting. A deep scowl entrenched Kitsuchi's face as he returned to his seat, having no non-hostile response. Now that we are all here, how about we start this meeting? Naruto simply raised an eyebrow as he moved toward his spot at the table, nodding at Zabuza as he sat down. Now that we are all accounted for, I suggest we begin this meeting, unless anyone would like to cite this incursion on Iwa's behalf as an act of war. Stated Mifune. With the 4 cages of the alliance smirking, Kitsuchi gained an uneasy feeling. No charges necessary. Iwa could not handle a war with any one of our countries. Stated Gaara. It would be over before it started. Agreed A. An act of war against any one of our nations or any of our protected lesser nations would result in immediate response. And I don't feel like desiring on a new 5th great nation. Mifune sighed in relief, because of the trade agreement with the Land of Earth, Iron Country would be drawn into a war should it be provoked. Very well, as Iwa has called this meeting, they first get the floor. Tsuchikage dono. Kitsuchi stood up and cleared his throat. As you all may know, roughly a month ago, an assassination attempt was perused against me. While I am no worse for the wear, I demand that Konoha reimburse my persons for such a blatant attempt. To everyone's surprise, it was Zabuza who answered. Big deal. You've sent over 20 attempts at Hokage-sama this last year, and you sent 30 armed registered ninja into Konoha during Akatsuki's invasion. Hold your tongue Jonin. I am a Kage and I will not be spoken to that way. Shouted Kitsuchi as he stood. Zabuza is correct. Not only is your demand unfounded, it is asinine. Stated May, you attacked Konoha and they returned your shinobi with chakra-sensitive explosive notes attached to them. You were the one that triggered the notes, it's your fault you were injured. I respect your power Mizukage dono, but do not speak on matters that do not concern you. Stated Kitsuchi. This is between Iwa and Konoha. Fine then Kitsuchi, what are your demands? Questioned Naruto childishly. You claim that you are no worse for the wear. What reparations do you want for your hurt feelings? The room fell into fits of giggling from the blonde's jab at the earth shadow. Kitsuchi smirked. Simple. You, everyone you're related to, including the kids you adopted, and every woman you've ever had relations with, are to be turned over to Iwa for punishment as we see fit. Naruto burst out laughing, as did a majority of the room at the ridiculous demand. So you want me to hand over 3 Jinchurikis, a Kage and 2 Jonin and a Chunin to you? Don't make me laugh. It is not a joke. For every day that this demand is not granted, Iwa will attack a Konoha supply chain, a Kumo Anbu outpost, a Suna delegate or a Kiri naval ship. Stated Kitsuchi. And as to show I am not bluffing, I've already ordered the destruction of a caravan heading to Waterfall. The pin drop could be heard as Kitsuchi smirked at the blonde, whose eyes turned yellow as his pupils morphed into bars. If what you say is true, you will be dead the moment the report crosses my desk. You should know that directly threatening the life of a fellow Kage in a civil meeting is an act of war. Stated Kitsuchi. If any one of my people is hurt by your greed, it will be no act of war, it will be an act of God. I will kill every single standing shinobi you have, then after the civilians clear out, I'll turn Iwagakure into a crater. I will rip your heart out at the bottom of that crater. Iwa will be no more, and you Kitsuchi will be the one written into history as the man who led to the destruction of Iwagakure. Stated Naruto as his voice became monotone and his senjutsu-enhanced eyes turned purple. Not so fast. Shouted a white blob that rose from the center of the floor, only to be killed by Gaara's sand. What a waste of a perfectly good zetsu. Everyone spun to see a man in an orange mask standing behind Chijiro. Fantastic swords, though no use against my battle fans. Who are you? Explain yourself. Shouted A. He's Akatsuki. His name is Tobi and he is extremely dangerous. Stated Jiraiya. Only partially correct Toad Sanin. Stated the masked man as Zabuza swung Kubikirabacho at the man, only for it to pass through him with no damage as the heavy sword embedded into the floor. I am a member of Akatsuki, and I am dangerous, however my true name is not Tobi. It's Madara-che. Zabuza and Chijiro jumped back to guard Mei as well as the other bodyguards, while Jiraiya jumped down behind Mifune and Sasuke appeared at Naruto's side. I see you understand that I am not to be toyed with. Stated the masked man before turning to Sasuke. How pitiful of you and Itachi to join with this Senju, you should have learned from my mistake. Don't make me laugh. You are not Madara-che. Stated Naruto impassively. He had met the man twice, and this person had no ties to him. Itachi has told me as much, you are an imposter, but you are an uchiha, your kamui is quite impressive. Beyond that, you are taller than Madara, he also suffered a broken elbow as a teenager, leaving his left arm shorter than his right, and Madara would never hide his face. Now the masked man stood still, the Kyuubi container knew his secret and that was not good news. At least he didn't know his identity. If you wish to believe that I am not who I say I am, that is your loss. Naruto felt a chill go up his spine as a memory from Nagato resurfaced about the masked man. Nagato, Konan and Yahiko had lost to this man, he was extremely powerful and dangerous. Why did you come here? Your plan is to capture Jinchuriki, extract their Bijuu and create a weapon. Why come here? Simple little Jinchuriki. There are 2 targets in this room. Though that is not the only reason. I came to inform you that this meeting is truly as pointless as 4 of you think it is. Stated the masked man. Actually, I'd love to see Iwa burn, but that is neither here nor there. What? Why would you say that? We have a deal with Akatsuki. Shouted Kitsuchi as he slammed his palms onto the table. What deal do you speak of? Asked Gaara dangerously. You accuse us of treachery when you have dealings with Akatsuki. You claim you call this meeting in peace and you've only provided threats, tell me why I shouldn't kill you now. Inoki gave no assistance to Han and Rashi when Akatsuki came in exchange for peace between Akatsuki and Iwa. Stated Kitsuchi before his features turned soft. I didn't agree with his decision to just hand over 2 Bijuu like that is asinine. Especially when they're held in my fellow shinobi. But a deal is a deal and Akatsuki should hold its end. There are 2 problems. 1, your deal was with Pain. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki killed him, so that deal is done. Second, if the Kyuubi Jinchuriki decides to turn Iwa into a crater, then we still wouldn't get involved. We already have the 4 and 5 tails. Besides, it would be fun. No major village has ever been wiped out before. Stated the masked man. The closest was I unleashed Kyuubi on Konoha. But we both know that turned out. Don't we, Naruto? Don't use that amount of familiarity with me. You're nothing but an imposter. The real Madara would never cover his face and the real Madara protected Konoha even after he defected. Stated Naruto. He went to Iwa and Suna, fought their cage to stand still and warned them not to fuck with Konoha. People change. I am in fact a person. So I guess that explains that. Doesn't matter though. In 2 months' time the remainder of Akatsuki will be finishing the collection of Bijuu. Then I will begin the plan I started nearly 60 years ago. I will unite the world under my power. Stated the masked man with foreboding tone. After all, after I take you out, Naruto. The nations will fall easily enough. Even with the power of the Bijuu you have, you are no match for the power of 4 of the great nations. Stated Ape boldly. Ah, but that is where I come in. Orochimaru. Why am I not surprised? Stated Jiraiya as he stared at his fallen teammate. Now Jiraiya. When have I ever missed an opportunity for destruction? Stated Orochimaru as he stepped out of the shadows. I just came to let you all know. Konoha will be responsible for the downfall of the world. And you can all thank little Naruto's big bad great-grandfather. Ito Tensei. It's easy to defeat. Anyone with any amount of sealing prowess can defeat it without problem. Stated Jiraiya. Who said anything about Ito Tensei? I'm referring to his other folly. Stated Orochimaru. Besides, who knows what will happen if Naruto obliterates Iwa. I might just have a few new test subjects. Now hold on, Snake. I granted you safe haven in exchange for protection to Iwa. We have the locations of all your bases and I will destroy each of them if you turn your back on us. Stated Kitsuchi. An idle threat. You don't know where my bases have been moved to. And there is nothing of value in them anyway. Smirked Orochimaru as he took a seat behind the Konoha flag. Actually, it would help my plans in the long run. Back on topic, with my help, the Akatsuki will have no problem toppling the 5 great nations. That's a bold statement. Kiri alone has the power to take out Odo. What makes you think that your aiding Akatsuki would suddenly grant them enough power to fight off 4, if not all 5 of the great nations? Questioned May. Started the masked man, it's our secret to tell. Now if you don't mind. Hokage is going to be pissed. Shouted a giant plant man as he popped out of the floor. This is so fun. News from Konoha. That kid from the Chunin exams, Trierne. Yay, that one, he's in Konoha and he just told the stand in Hokage something very interesting. That one is Zetsu. We've tracked him back to grass, but he doesn't exist past that. Stated Jiraiya. Why would my nephew be in Konoha? Have you kidnapped him for his power? You are nothing but lying scum, all of you, shouted Kitsuchi as he charged Naruto, only to be frozen in place. Naruto's eyes seemed to pierce Kitsuchi's very soul as an ungodly killing intent filled the room. It stepped up to a whole nother level as Sage Mode activated, forcing Kitsuchi to his knees. You sit the fuck down and shut up, I'm not too far from killing you. If I knew why your nephew was in my village, I'd have him killed or send him back. Stated Naruto before he turned to Zetsu, directed his killing intent on the plant person. What did the boy say? Oh, nothing. Just that Iwa has sent a few Jonin and Chunin to wipe out Wave Country. The killing intent in the room multiplied as all the ninja in the room looked at Kitsuchi in rage. This meeting is over. Sasuke, with me, Jiraiya, I trust you and everyone else can hold your own. Kitsuchi, I'll be seeing you very soon. Stated Naruto as Sasuke grabbed his shoulder. Not so fast Jinchuriki, I have one last announcement. Stated the masked man as he appeared before Naruto. I plan to end the pain of this world of lies with my moon's eye plan. The flash. Some veterans froze at the sight of their comrades being decimated by a bright yellow flash. The commander of the platoon watched in horror as his entire platoon was decimated in just a few short seconds. They hadn't even made it to the bridge yet, none of his men or women was left alive, and now, he was standing before what seemed to be God himself, purple-ringed eyes staring back at him. The golden aura of flame surrounding the figure's body, as the rage the being was putting out, was tantamount to 100 Kage's killing intent. Naruto Namikaze, the god Hokage, stood before him, and he knew his life was over. He had been exited for this mission, a chance to prove he still had enough in the tank to be a head jonin. Now he could do nothing but watch as the glowing golden man walked toward him. You're the first enemy I have ever shown this to. The power granted to me by the Rinnegan, given by the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and perfected in secret. This is my god form. Stated Naruto as he stood still and raised his hand. Bo. Shinra Tensei. The nameless jonin folded in half at the waist, being repelled by the force of gravity itself. He never felt the impact of the ground, he was already dead. Wow. That was brutal. And why are you calling yourself God? Questioned Sasuke as he looked over the devastation. Oh right. Well, you're still the dope in my book. Oh, shut the hell up team. Stated Naruto as the chakra cloak receded and his eyes returned to their normal blue. The two friends shared a laugh before they both adopted a serious look. Sasuke was the first to break the silence. Are you really going to destroy Iwa? Naruto took a deep breath and looked to the sky. I'm going to cripple their forces at the very least. I can't just sit back anymore. With Kyuubi I can sense which ones are lost causes, anyone who isn't I'll give the chance to flee or fight. Naruto looked into Sasuke's eyes and smiled. If this little plan of mine works. Not everyone in Iwa is a bad ninja Sasuke. They deserve a chance too, and there is no one on this earth I trust more than you. Stated Naruto. You are my partner Sasuke, through thick and thin, through my time as Hokage, you have had my back. I will need you to watch it again. Naruto. Alright, don't get sappy, we have to get back to Jiraiya, there's a pretty good chance he's trying to grope one of the girls. Stated Naruto as he grabbed Sasuke's shoulder. Akatsuki hideout. Damn it. I'll show those motherfuckers. They will rue the day they laughed in my face. Shouted Obito as he thrashed the room he was in. They just brushed me off. Sensei's bastard son outed me as on being Madara and they all just dismissed me like a common bug. Obito was so caught in his rage he didn't even see that the remaining members of Akatsuki, Biju included, were gathered around him until Kakazu spoke. Calm down. The last Biju has been sealed and we are ready. Shall I continue gaining bounties? Questioned Kakazu. No. Obito said definitively. You all need to get used to your Biju powers, I want you to find the most remote spots you can and prepare, in 1 week's time, we launch our attack. I know of something that may help this battle you are planning. Would you mind if I retrieve it? Page Summit. Naruto and Sasuke flashed back into the room and retook their spots, surprising many of the occupants when they saw that neither had any blood on them. It is extremely rude to leave a meeting. Stated Mifune in disinterest. I am sorry Mifunedono. There was a small problem I had to take care of. Stated Naruto with a smile. It seems you didn't brat. There isn't a mark on you, and I know my men did not flee. Stated Kitsuchi. You're right, they didn't flee. Stated Sasuke. But you should have sent your best. Dope cut through them like tissue paper. I find that hard to believe. They were my best ninja. My Jonin elite. Even your adorable little branches would have fallen to them. Stated Kitsuchi arrogantly. May we continue the meeting Mifunedono? I apologize for my absence. Stated Naruto before looking up at Jiraiya. I hope the pervert didn't make too much of a fool of himself. Disrespectful Gaki. Muttered Jiraiya as he continued writing in his ever-present notepad. Enough. I've had it with this farce. If all Iwa wants to do is puff their chest, then Kumo has no reason to be here. Stated A with authority. I agree. Suna has no reason to stay either. It is clear that Iwa has no plans of joining our alliance, and the other 4 major villages already are in full cooperation. Stated Gaara. I don't really see a reason for Konoha to be here. If what he says is true, then I just took out more than half his Jonin. They have nothing left to fight with. Stated Naruto. Fine. Then I as the Yondaime Tsuchikage declare war on Konoha. Shouted Kitsuchi. Okay. Stated Naruto simply before he got up and began to walk out the meeting room, Jiraiya and Sasuke following. Soon after the Kumo and Kiri groups followed. Only the Iwa ninja and the departing Suna ninja remained when Gaara turned to Kitsuchi and spoke. You have made a fatal mistake. Kitsuchi just smiled. I'll wipe his away like an insect. Aki. How pitiful. This village has fallen off completely since I left. Stated Kakazu as he threw a ninja away from himself. He walked towards his goal. Beneath a great tree in the middle of the village sat a large reserve of water. Known as the hero's water. The water was a byproduct of the tree that the Shodium Hokage grew himself as a show of trust and respect. However, what made the water special wasn't that it was blessed by the Shodium. The water could unlock a person's dormant chakra, giving them nearly unparalleled strength. This has the drawback that once the chakra ran out, it would result in death. A secret to the hero water that only Kakazu and the first Nanabi Jinchuriki knew was that the water was not meant for humans. It was meant for Jinchuriki. Biju did not run out of chakra. Suna. My, sure has changed. Stated Sasori as he moved through the halls of his hideout. He was impressed by the growth Suna had made under Gaara. As he made it to a door, he paused, wondering if Chio had ever found this place. It was unlikely, after all, it was on hallowed grounds. Soon the world know the power of 1,000 puppets. And to think. I'll still be the weakest member. 1 week later. I don't like this Naruto, it feels wrong. Stated Sasuke as he scanned the village with his Dijutsu. It's too calm. There is no movement. He's right Gaki, Iwa has always rolled out when an attack is incoming, and even Kitsuchi isn't daft enough to think that you were bluffing. Stated Jiraiya seriously. Send a shadow clone in, we can hightail it out of here if Kitsuchi has a trick up his sleeve. Alright pervy sage. Stated Naruto as he summoned a shadow clone and sent it into the village. The Naruto clone stood before the gates of Iwa, its creator ready to decimate the village as he had promised. But there was one problem. The village was empty. The clone activated Sage mode and began its trek into the center of the village, becoming more and more disturbed as he got closer to the cage tower and still no signs of life. Pulsing his chakra he found that not only were there no people in the village. There was no chakra either. The clone felt its body freeze as the entire village began to glow blue, chakra pulsing around it as it rocketed into the air, trying to get a better idea of what was happening before it dispersed. It was then that the clone spotted it. The cage tower began to glow red, the area around it glowing purple as the two forces met and the clone dispersed. Naruto's eyes widened as he gained the clone's memories. Naruto looked at Jiraiya before he felt his world blurring. It's a reverse summoning seal. It latched onto my chakra and it's pulling at my conscious. Go to Yuzu and find it in the vault, it was done by my great-grandpa. And Naruto was gone, his chakra signature fading from existence. What the hell just happened? Questioned Sasuke as he looked at the place his best friend had stood moments ago. What was he talking about? Jiraiya had been heavily contemplating the same thing for about a minute before Sasuke had found his voice. Sasuke, can you haration to Naruto? Maybe he has been taken somewhere. Sasuke closed his eyes and focused on Naruto, trying to target his reverse summon seal. Sasuke's eyes went wide and his body tensed. No. He doesn't have any sort of beacon I can pull through to. Then I need you to go back and inform the others that Naruto has been captured and you need to tell Zabuza and Itachi to get their ass to Yuzu. Stated Jiraiya solemnly. I'm going to investigate the city and try to find some answers before I head over myself. Zabuza can get Itachi into the catacombs, under the fountain. They can begin their search there. Sasuke nods and disappears, most likely using the beacon on the Hokage's guardians. Jiraiya gathered some chakra and summoned a battalion of search toads. I'd like you all to search for any signs of life in that village. Be careful, as there could be more traps in the village. Jiraiya entered Sage mode and began his trek into the ghost town village. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as he got farther and farther into the village, waiting for even a single chakra signature. As he made his way toward the cage tower, he began to see fragments of a seal around the base of the building. He looked them over for a few moments before coming to the conclusion that they were too scattered to make sense of. He then crossed the threshold into the building. It too was lifeless, though unlike the rest of the town, the offices had a few dead bodies inside, mostly Anbu with the rest being Jonin. Jiraiya walked up the stairs and came to the Tsuchikage's office, where he found Kitsuchi. He was a grisly sight, his throat slashed and a kunai in his hand. After getting over his shock, Jiraiya continued into the office, finding that the desk had been cleared off with a note sitting in front of the dead Tsuchikage. Did whoever find this? I, Kitsuchi of Iwa, have been under some form of control of by an unknown entity for the last 2 years. During that time, I have committed several great crimes that have been a stain on my country's name. I'm finding myself less and less conscious during these actions, with most of the recent cage summit completely clear from my memory. Currently, I am locked in my office with no way of escaping, while an impostor is rallying my people to the bunkers. I have lost. The man who controls me is an uchiha, roughly my height, and wears a mask similar to the Uzumaki spiral. I cannot take back what I have done, and I feel my control waning. He is currently preparing the village's ultimate defense. Jiraiya reread the note several times, his mind wandering. Jiraiya again looked over the former Tsuchikage, the blood pooling down his shirt and into his lap, tears still in his cold, lifeless eyes. He had died recently, less than 10 minutes ago. An uchiha. The Noha branch's headquarters. What do you mean disappear? Shouted Zabuza as he looked to his future son-in-law. What you are saying doesn't make any sense, people don't just disappear. Well, Naruto does know the Hiraishin. Stated Kakashi, his eye looking toward Guy. Is it possible that seal just sent him somewhere with a chakra-blocking seal? Maybe he is with the toads. No, he was gone. Hiraishin leaves a faint amount of chakra when it's used, he disappeared, no chakra, no anything. Stated Sasuke before looking to Zabuza. Jiraiya wants you and Itachi and Yuzu ASAP to search the catacombs. You remember how to get to them? Zabuza just nodded and got up from the table. Come on Itachi, we need to get a move on. Itachi left with Zabuza, taping Sasuke on the forehead as he moved past him. Sasuke took a moment to gather himself before he looked up to the remaining branches. Someone needs to act as an interim Hokage, and we need to get word to the other villages. I'll go talk to Lady Tsunade, she has the most experience in this sort of predicament. Stated Shizune as she moved from her spot quickly, obviously uncomfortable with the current situation. I'll tell the girls. Naruto would kill me if we left them out of the loop. They can inform the other cages. Stated Sasuke as he got up from the table. Kakashi, Asuma, Guy, can you set up some patrols? We couldn't sense anyone in the village, there is a chance that Iwa plans to attack while the village is leaderless. The Noha's interrogation department. Both Inoichi and Ibiki were shocked when a toad appeared in the middle of the offices and began hopping toward the dissection labs. The interrogators followed the toad and watched it hop up on the end of a table before its mouth opened impossibly wide and a human being was spit out. They approached, only to be shocked to see it was Katsuchi, his throat cut and a scroll in his mouth. Noticing the toad markings on the edge, Ibiki pulled it out and began reading it. Inoichi and Ibiki, sealed at the bottom of this letter, is Kitsuchi's apparent suicide note. He claims to have been controlled into his actions over the last few years and claims that he sometimes had control. I need Inoichi to scan his mind, he hasn't been dead long. Ibiki had a team to study his body and see if any long-term damage from drugs or jutsu have damaged anything, particularly the chakra coils going to his hands. This is of top security clearance only, bring Tsunade in. Jiraiya. What the hell happened? 19 hours later, Hokage's office. Tsunade sat in the chair, the remaining branches and Inoichi surrounding her. It had been a trying day for her, and the fact that she hadn't gotten a wink of sleep. Who would have thought that I needed that big lug in my bed just to fall asleep? I hope he gets to Yuzu soon, I can't take this Hokage shit. Sasuke approached the table first, his face burnt and bruised. I have taken the liberty of informing the other cage and Temari. May didn't take it very well. The secret is contained, but it won't be long. Akatsuki has that spy and I wouldn't be surprised if they were already on the move. Zabuza sent word that he had reached the ruins about 2 hours ago. Itachi is searching with his Sharingan, while Zabuza searches cavern that he and Naruto had found. Stated Kakashi. Other than that, Anbu patrols and have been sent. Our teams have all been prepped into wartime status. Stated Asuma. I told them all it was in case Akatsuki attacked while Naruto was gone with Jiraiya. Good. Agreed Tsunade, her eyes bloodshot. Inoichi and Ibiki have some troubling news. Inoichi stepped forward into view and cleared his throat. Roughly 20 hours ago, the deceased body of Katsuchi was brought to us by one of Lord Jiraiya's toads. His cause of death was a kunai slash across throat. It was self-inflicted and Jiraiya found a suicide note near the body. The room's eyes went wide. The note had mentioned that he did not feel he had control. In fact, he claimed that the head of Akatsuki, the that claims himself to be Madara, was the one to control him. Finished Inoichi. Upon inspection, the final probe of his mind showed that his conscience was nearly torn to shreds. Ibiki had found that his brain had chakra burns over a majority of the frontal and parietal lobes. This form of mind control was known to be done in the clan wars, overloading a part of the brain and forcing it to function in ways that were abnormal. How long was he being controlled? Asked Guy. The note said he noticed it almost 2 years ago, but the burns were more recent, most in the last 6 months. It's the working theory that Katsuchi had been fighting the control and the Madara imposter kept to mount up the chakra to make him comply. Stated Inoichi. The rest of his body is even more strange. Chakra lesions of his chest and legs, those were just an hour or so before death. A huge amount of chakra was sent through his system, enough to power a city. We currently believe that it was Kitsuchi who had cast that jutsu that absorbed Naruto. He didn't have that much chakra though, stated Kakashi as he contemplated the source of the power. The villagers had been used as a sort of impulse battery. From Jiraiya's reports, they were all in the caves under the village when the jutsu went off. The toads report 100% loss of life, stated Inoichi as he pulled out a scroll, laying out on the table. Jiraiya says it's a ghost town and that we should fill it with Anbu to keep looters and missing nin from taking it over and destroying evidence that he may need. The toads are currently watching it with Gamabunta sitting in the park next to the Hokage Tower. Fine. Sasuke, Kakashi will gather the most trusted Anbu we have, you will bring them there and will supervise. Use the communication tubes if you find anything that may help. Commanded Tsunade. Sasuke nodded and disappeared with Kakashi. I want everyone at TI working on Kitsuchi. I want him to be hamburger meat if it means we get our answers. Inoichi, Shizune, go get me answers. Tsunade waited patiently until everyone had left the room before she reached for the bottom right drawer, hoping that her sensei's stash of alcohol was still in place or if Naruto had at least replaced it. Upon pulling the false bottom out of the drawer, Tsunade found an inexplicable steaming hot bowl of fresh ramen. Yep. Don't know why I even hoped for something different. Unknown location. Bikuzu had lived a long and very eventful life. He had found that when the nations grew quiet, something big had usually happened. He stood among the remaining members of Akatsuki, their leader missing, and Zetsu was panicked. He's gone missing, stated the white half of Zetsu, the black half missing as the plant man stood on one leg. Leader has gone missing, along with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. What do you mean missing? Questioned Kisame, his shark-like features deepened by the introduction of Bijuu chakra. He disappears all the time. I'm sure he is fine. No. Black Zetsu says he is gone. He can't be found. Panicked white Zetsu. Well, then I suggest we elect a new leader. Unknown location. Shisui looked up at Madara, his eyes wide. Grandfather, do you feel it? That man is gone, and so is Naruto. I can't feel either of them. Madara, for his part, smiled. Then we can prepare our next move. Get ready, we are going to pay Konoha a little visit. Belay yourselves, stated the red-haired man. The masked one is gone forever, but the Goddamn Hokage will return. Do as you wish, but the new imposter and the thief of bodies must be stopped. When will the Senju return? As much as this challenge excites me, I feel he is needed, stated Madara, his eyes boring into the red-headed man. Your father invented the jutsu. Can you get him back? That is not the question you should be asking, stated the red-haired man. Where did they go anyway? Questioned Shisui inquisitively. That, Shisui, is the right question. Ruins of Yuzu. It had been almost 40 years since he has been in the land of the swirling tides on business. Jiraiya remembered when he had been tasked with accompanying Mito and his sensei to the village, the way the Uzumaki lived with seals and how they had such a lively culture. Now it was nothing but old ruins that failed to even glimmer the beauty that this village used to hold. Jiraiya knew better than to reminisce about the past, choosing instead to head straight to the center of the once great village. The great fountain of Asanta, named after the woman who had it built. Not even Mito had known the fountain had contained the fabled crypt of Yuzu. According to Zabuza, Naruto had only been able to find it after being possessed by the last leader of the Uzumaki, Jin. Jiraiya took a moment to look down into the waters, seeing the bottom clearly, no cavern in sight to the Toad Sage, who remembered clearly that Naruto had said that he should look here. Jiraiya once again entered Sage mode, somewhat shocked to sense Zabuza standing almost directly below him, his chakra fluctuating wildly. With no time to spare, Jiraiya dove into the water and went straight for the bottom, trying to feel a trapdoor or an overhang that would allow safe passage into the catacombs. It took a few minutes of Jiraiya resurfacing and heading back down to find it. A small, no more than 4-foot wide hole what looked like there was nothing there. He had found it when his hand disappeared through the bottom of the fountain. Swimming into the hole, Jiraiya dropped headfirst onto the ground of the cavern, bouncing off the rock and tumbling into the wall. Why didn't you take the big one? Questioned Zabuza as he motioned behind him, revealing a huge opening at the mouth of the cavern. Jiraiya glared at the man, not finding any humor in the comment. You didn't see that, now have you found anything? Yeah, but I can't make heads or tails of it, stated Zabuza. Come on, hopefully you can. Konoha's interrogation. Inoichi continued to probe the quickly degenerating mind of Kitsuchi, finding more fragments that continued to paint a disturbing picture of how he had been manipulated and controlled. The most distorted memories seemed to have been from the days after Inoki had died. Almost immediately, the masked man had appeared, with great promises of helping Kitsuchi erase Iwa to the top of the ninja world. In some of the fragments he seemed kind and peaceful, while in others, he was vicious quick to anger. The only recurring element of the man was the red of his Sharingan eye and the orange mask. Past that, the memories became more sporadic, large chunks of time missing, and confusion were common during this stretch. Inoichi determined that the mind control used had been fought against, forcing this man to use more and more force. Kitsuchi had fought hard against this man, but he lost in the end. It was then that Inoichi recovered Kitsuchi's last memories. Kitsuchi regained consciousness just after the village pulsed blue, and he watched the masked man slowly disappear, and Kitsuchi's mind once again became clear. Damn it. How did none of us see it? Questioned Inoichi as he rewatched a few fragment memories. Just like the mind control jutsu of my clan, but less refined. Was it out jutsu that caused this? I take it you have found something? Questioned Shizune as she halted her dissecting of Kitsuchi's chakra pathways. The letter, he was no lying. The jutsu used was an old Yamanaka technique that was used in the time of Madara Uchiha. It was banned due to long-term damage to the victim. Stated Inoichi grimly. It's a wonder that he could even function. That matches his pathways. His body suffered a huge chakra backlash near the time of his death. Stated Shizune. Did Master Jiraiya say anything about the jutsu he used when Lord Naruto disappeared? No, but maybe I can find it in his memories. Namika's compound. Azumi had been quiet for almost 24 hours, something that would cause most people who knew him to react joyously, but Shisui knew better. His adoptive brother had only acted like this when Naruto had been in the coma after fighting pain. Shisui and Rimi had kept an eye on the boy, who would shift periodically between mediating and sleeping. Neither wanted to interrupt their Jinchuriki teammate, and since Yujito was in Kumo, they didn't want to risk Azumi reacting negatively if they accidentally provoked him. Azumi meanwhile, opened his eyes and stood, stretching his body and cracking his back. Mr. Turtle says that he can't feel Naruto Nai-san or the Nine Tails. And just what does that mean? Questioned the young Chunin. Azumi paused, a sad look on his face. Mr. Turtle says that the only way that Kyuubi's chakra would disappear like that would be if Naruto Nai died and Kyuubi was being regenerated. Oh no. Large chunks of dark purple crystal lay buried and scattered through the compound, embedded in walls, impaling helpless bystanders. By Kabuto, I think this just might be my favorite body of all time. Stated Orochimaru as he swiped his arm, dozens of crystals shooting out of his sleeve. Are you sure the other additions will function properly as well? Absolutely, Lord Orochimaru. Guren's body took the upgrades fantastically, even Jugo's chakra seems to function in harmony. Stated Kabuto with a smirk. Though, I believe the best addition are the eyes. Izuna was just so wonderfully powerful. Good. Make sure the sacrifices are ready, the second my old friends in Akatsuki give the opening, I shall attack and they won't be able to stand the might of Orochimaru. Is Ushiagakur? Jiraiya hadn't wasted much time as he walked straight for Tamaki's resting place. Opened the coffin and lifted the bedding. Uzumaki cremate their dead, but the most important ones get sealed after death and the object that holds them get put in coffins. These coffins are then sealed. The fact that the object that should hold Tamaki isn't here means something happened to it, which means someone got into this coffin. That's a deep hole. Stated Zabuza as he looked down the seemingly hand-carved shaft that had been hidden under the bedding. How far do you think it goes? We have to be near the groundwater level already. It goes all the way to the bottom. Stated Jiraiya jokingly as he hopped over the edge of the coffin and began to descend. Remember, Tamaki made some of the most powerful seals of all time, I'm sure a simple water barrier was almost an afterthought for him. I'm not back up in 30 minutes, signal Itachi and come get me. I might be as strong as I've ever been, but you still outclass me Jiraiya, how could I handle something powerful enough to take you down? Questioned Zabuza. Jiraiya looked down the hole again and back to Zabuza. If I was worried about an enemy I'd go about this a bit differently, don't you think? It seemed like a mile straight down, Jiraiya climbed as he reached the bottom of the shaft. Zabuza's face and the light from the room had disappeared nearly halfway down, leaving Jiraiya basically in the dark until he reached the bottom room. It was like he had climbed into a treasure vault. Scrolls lined every wall in the dimly lit room, the floor was a rough rock surface, chunks of loose debris from the ceiling had fallen on the ground, created small piles of dirt and rock. Jiraiya scanned the room, finding no labeling system or anything that sorted the shelves, he settled on the 3 small glass boxes that seemed to draw his eye. 2 glowing blue and 1 glowing an angry red, the table-like rock that they sat on had several lines carved into its surface. To reverse the time shift, simply lift the box that links the soul you wish to retrieve. Once the box is lifted, the link to the victim is opened, the victim must lift their box to return to their own world, however, their avatar will stay in their own world. At the point of return, the avatar will remain in the affected timeline, the original shall gain the avatar's experiences up to the point of the return. This jutsu can only affect the target, any foreign chakras in the target's body do not leave the affected world. Should a Jinchuriki be targeted, the Biju shall be the entity trapped in the glass box and the target's full conscious shall be replicated in the avatar. So, the red box is Naruto's, as it currently holds the Kyuubi. Muttered Jiraiya as he carefully lifted the glass box. The room erupted into a great white light, the box shattering in Jiraiya's hand. Moments later, the red chakra began to condense, forming a human-sized red swirling void on the wall farthest from Jiraiya. As time and space twist and turn, the chains are tested. As the chains are tested, the fabric collapses. It is these collapses that allow the portal to reopen, returning the victim of my wretched jutsu. Jiraiya was shocked when the voice came from the void. The powerful and all-knowing voice taking shape in the swirl, as a tall, white-haired old man formed from the chakra, the Yuzu crest carved into the leather chest plate. His dark purple eyes staring through Jiraiya as legs formed under the specter. The underground room began to shake and rumble, chakra flooded the cavern, forcing Jiraiya to his knees as the weight of the hatred and malice pressed down on him. Let the eons and the echoes of time howl. I stay locked away no longer. I, Tamaki Uzumaki, am reborn. Battle of Iwa, 422. Lamai Ishikawa. How brave of you, taking a hit for little Inoki. Smirked Madara as he looked over the first Tsuchikage, a wood spike in his shoulder and a true look of fear on his face. Behind him stood his grandson, Inoki. The child could only be described as terrified, his eyes wide and a clear surprise on his face. Yao, you can copy bloodlines with those vile eyes. Ground out Ishikawa, his back to his grandchild. Hashirama should have killed you years ago. He tried. Replied Madara as he looked over the area. I'm still bitter about that. However, I must admit, you are quite the capable shinobi. I was hoping you would come closer than he had. Why do you not use that famous dust release I've heard so much about? You treacherous fool, do you think I'm daft? If you were able to copy the wood release, then I doubt you couldn't simply use my own jutsu against me. Replied the Tsuchikage, his eyes narrowing. No, I'll have to use the gift of the Uzumaki to deal with you. Well good, I'll be visiting them next then. Replied Madara as he activated the highest level of Sharingan, his eyes morphing once again. Inoki, tell Mew that he is the last hope for our village. I was hoping I could watch over him for a few more years. Mew is the Tsuchikage, and you are not to be trained in the ways of the clan, but in the ways of the dust release. Inoki, one day, another person will appear in this very spot. That is one of the effects of this jutsu. Do not trust them easily. Commanded Ishikawa, his eyes narrowing. I'll do what that fool Hashirama couldn't. Fuinjutsu. Displacement of time. 481, Naruto's world. Madara awoke to find himself in the middle of a clearing, Iwa in the distance. His head throbbing, he tried to sit up, only for his stomach to lurch, forcing him to his back once again. What did that jutsu do to me? I feel weak, my body. I have no chakra left. Muttered Madara as he forced himself to his feet. As he took his first look around, he found that the area looked nothing like it had before. Instead of the weak pitiful wall that had surrounded the village, there now stood large imposing gates, anchored in a wall that rivaled the very gates of Konoha. He gazed over the rest of the land, scarred from battles long past. This damage, this couldn't have happened recently. Madara, extremely low on chakra and physically sick, chose to leave before he was spotted. Something is very wrong. I believe that jutsu may have. No. No mere ninja can control time. Unknown. The dark room, 3 ninja occupying it, fell completely silent as the oldest member stood. Red hair and purple eyes, staring at his 2 pawns. The Madara from my time has arrived. Soon, we shall begin making the necessary moves. We are just going to let him run amok? Asked Madara, this world's Madara. We can kill him now. Replied Shisui, his Sharingan flexing. Foolish boy, you know not the workings of my father's jutsu. You will obey my orders. Konoha, 3 days later. 5 faces on the Hokage monument. Hashirama. Tobirama. Then it appears the Sarutobi fielded a Hokage, little Hiruzen perhaps. The last 2. Look like brothers. Possibly father and son. Madara stood atop Mount Izuna, the landmark he named after his brother, and looked down on the village, his eyes focusing on the Hokage monument. It does appear that I have been thrown into the future. Perhaps. Madara focused his chakra and sped toward an old Uchiha hideout, far from the detection barrier that Mito and Tamaki had set up in his final days there. It wasn't long until he arrived, the building long forgotten to time as he observed that the roof had caved in, leaving the building unusable to anyone that found it. Madara knew better though. Suppressing his chakra, he jumped into the open foundation of the building. A few stomps and his foot suddenly punched through the floor. Soon after, he was in one of the Uchiha clan tunnels. His eyes never faltering as he moved through the partially collapsed tunnel. Something is wrong. Thought Madara as he stopped. This tunnel ends after 83 paces and then branches to the Hokage Tower and the compound. Madara suddenly stopped, a large wooden door before him. Feeling uneasy, he opened the door, only to find a large cavern, full of exam tables and rows of shelves, all dusted over and filled with jars of body parts and scrolls. The lab. Madara scanned the room, not finding anything of particular interest, he looked for the continuation of the tunnel. How was this build? Has my clan really fallen so low as to experiment on the weak? Thought Madara as he continued through the lab. Finding his way to the tunnel again, he continued until he reached a staircase. Checking quickly for chakra signatures, he was somewhat alarmed when he found none. He swiftly moved up the staircase, flipping the boards out of the way until he was standing in another room, once again, a thick layer of dust coating everything. Madara checked again for his clansmen, finding that the clan grounds mostly deserted. The feeling of dread was slowly filling the pits of his stomach. He fully suppressed his chakra, something he had learned from Tobirama, and moved towards the few people that were in the compound. The scene he found confused him greatly. He watched as two young men, obviously uchiha, ate lunch with a young woman who, while looking the part, was definitely a member of the Yuki clan. He watched for almost half an hour, his mind conflicting. They seem so peaceful, though the men hold great power. I feel the Mangekyo in both of them. Thought Madara, his mind falling back to his own childhood. Just like myself and Izuna. But if they exist, surely there are more uchiha. If two brother have the Mangekyo. But the streets are empty. I feel only one other uchiha in the village. Deciding that he could gather no more information here, he moved to find the other uchiha. It wasn't until he found a training ground that he realized just how much Konoha had really changed. Before, there were simple open field where students and teams could train. Now it seems that most training grounds were constructed, simulation differing environments and focusing on adaptability. In the middle of this training ground, Madara saw an uchiha with dark red hair, next to him was a senju. So the senju and uchiha still prospered together. Maybe that's why the uchiha compound is so desolate. Perhaps the uchiha have integrated into the village. Maybe you were right, Hashirama. I suppose the boy does somewhat look like me. That senju, he is the spitting image of Hashirama's younger brat. Madara was shocked as a tall blonde man, roughly the same age as the uchiha from earlier, appeared in a flash of yellow light. What? That was Tobirama's accursed flying thunder god. But he used no marker or even a kunai. Shisui, Azumi, how is your meditation coming along? Madara nearly lost control of his chakra. Not only did this blonde have Tobirama's armor on, but a cloak, which read Godame Hokage. A child. A teenager is the leader of this village. Madara paused, his eyes narrowing. Azumi. He must be named after his grandfather. If that uchiha is indeed my own descendant, then this man must be a sensei of some sort. And he would have to be powerful to train the descendants of myself and Hashirama. Madara, confident that he would not be spotted, continued to watch the small group. As the blonde turned, Madara's blood ran cold. On the back of his cloak were the symbols of the Uzumaki, the Senju, and one he wasn't familiar with. A hybrid, the blood of both the Senju and the Uzumaki. But where does the blonde come from? The answer slapped him across the face like his wife once had after suggesting a three-way. Tobirama. Tobirama had always been a ladies' man, with his conquests being Konoha's best worst kept secret. But one woman in particular flared into his mind. A blonde woman, the one Tobirama had been with when he was exiled from the village. Hirshin, blonde hair, Senju, Uzumaki. Tobirama's descendant, perhaps the fourth was his father. So this village has truly been under Senju rule all this time. Madara was surprisingly calm about that. This village seems to have prospered well under Senju rule. If tradition seems to hold, then one of these children will become the next Hokage. Lost in his thoughts, Madara didn't see Naruto turning before it was too late. Thinking quickly, Madara used his control of the wood release to fall backward into the tree he was standing in, traveling as fast as he could out of the area and out of the village, hopefully avoiding being spotted by the apparent Hokage. He sensed me. He must be Tobirama's descendant, not even you could sense me when I compressed my chakra. When he felt he was far enough away from the village, he popped out of the ground and took a deep breath. I need to find out everything that has happened. Of course, Madara knew what that meant. I must go to the cats. Outskirts of Fire Country. Madara approached a house that he had dreaded for years as a boy but held absolute loyalty to. Knocking on the door, he was surprised to hear a very familiar voice. The door opened and a very old woman, gray hair and cat ears atop her head. Madara. Have I died? I don't believe so. May I come in, Nekichin? Asked Madara kindly. No one has called me that in almost 60 years. The old woman muttered, her eyes glossing over. She led him into the house, where surprisingly little had changed over the years. The last time Madara had set foot in the house, the woman in front of him had been only 14, her mother once had sheltered him and several clan members before the founding of Konoha. Madara had pledged that the Uchiha would take care of her for as long as he was their leader. In return, the family had kept an eye on the surrounding area. Madara would visit a few times a year. He had been 15 when the woman in front of him was born. He sat on the couch, his eyes scanning the many cats in the room. One cat was brave enough to approach him and it was rewarded with a chin scratch. Still a softie. To think, the Madara uchiha that is still feared by this world. Madara looked up from the cat to see the woman sit down in front of him. What can I do for you, Madara? After all these years, and you haven't aged a day. Nekichin. I need to know everything, the last year I remember was 422. Replied Madara. Oh lord. Then I suppose you don't know. 2 months later. Madara stood on his own head at the Valley of the End. His mind hadn't stopped running, not since Nico had told him everything. His clan was slaughtered by one of their own, on the orders of Danzo Shimura. The Senju were down to just 2 known living members, with the Uchiha having 3. Madara of course suspected that the Godame Hokage's second student was a Senju, meaning they were at 3 each. Tsunade is still alive. I assume little Saratobi's other brats are still around. What were their names? Ah yes, Jiraiya and Orochimaru. He had searched for all the information he could find in the last months, learning many facts and truths that filled him with a very familiar rage. Madara snarled, locking eyes with the Hashirama statue. We were fools. That village changed nothing. My clan is all but gone, as is yours. 3 damn wars. Countless children dead to this pitiful world. But the Godame, he's changing all of that. The boy is wonderful, as are his right and left hand men, Sasuke and Itachi. So much is changing so fast, and the tensions in the elemental nations has been draining away to nothing. The words of Nico rang through Madara's head, like a banging gong. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Senju. Tobirama's great-grandson, son of the 4th Hokage and the great-grandson of Tamaki Uzumaki. One more look at Hashirama's and statue and Madara's snarl softened. Maybe, just this once. Maybe the boy can fix this world of lies. 1 month later. Madara looked down into a large crater in the earth, the skeleton of some large beasts half buried in the ground. The bone forests, just south of Iowa. He had heard of a man that was using his name, and after a few months of looking, he found this place. How he had come across this place was mostly luck. The group he had heard about, Akatsuki, was planning of collecting the 9 Bijuu, something he had wanted to do. He began to search for them, but found them hard to pin down. Nico had said that Itachi, one of the 2 remaining Uchiha, had been part of the group but returned to the village. He began searching the most remote areas he could, the mounts of Kumo, the south desert of Suna, then, he came to this place. The so-called mountain graveyard, the center of the bone forest, and here, he felt something that simply shouldn't exist. My chakra. Mixed with Hashirama. He muttered as he jumped down into the crater. The feeling became more powerful. He walked under the skeleton, finding a hole that led into an underground cave. Once again, the feeling became stronger. He walked toward the strange feeling, going deeper into the tunnel, until he found himself in a large domed room, impossibly high ceiling and most of all, a giant, white tree. The tree itself seemed to radiate Hashirama's chakra, as well as an amount of his own. He marveled at the scale of the construct, circling around it until he fell on his ass from shock. Hashirama. A moment to regain his bearings and he stood, reaching out and touching the bulge in the tree that was a perfect replica of his long-dead friend, only to feel that it was made of the same material the tree was. No. What is going on here? This makes no sense. Did Hashirama make this place? Madara heard the faintest of sounds come from the mouth of the tunnel, his eyes widening as he watched another shadow move towards him. He fully suppressed his chakra and moved to the darkest part of the cave. The person was about his height, short black hair, an orange mask over his face, the rest of him was covered by a black robe with red clouds covering it. Akatsuki. Who is this one? He watched as the man moved past the tree and toward the other end of the cavern, but was shocked as he disappeared into the darkness. Madara was tempted to follow him, but if this place really was built by Hashirama, then he was almost sure that he did not want to fight the person that had so much of Hashirama's chakra in his body. His ego getting the better of him, Madara followed the masked man into the darkness, finding himself in another lab, this one much cleaner and rather small, compared to the one he had found in Konoha. It was only when he moved to hide again that he saw it. The entire wall of the lab was filled with glass containers. They all held Sharingan eyes. Becoming enraged, Madara let his chakra flare. You were the one that slaughtered my clan. Madara-sama, you're alive. Did Nagato revive you already? Questioned the masked man, his lone eye wide. Who is Nagato? Questioned Madara, his temper flaring. The Uzumaki you gave your eyes to. Don't you remember? I gave my eyes to no one. I would never give away the last gift of my brother. Defied Madara, his chakra growing darker and more potent. Do you not remember this place? Asked the masked man, his eye looking questioningly at the ancient Uchiha. The tree, do you not remember the tree? You created it. I created it. asked Madara. My and Hashirama's chakra. Madara subconsciously touched the spot on his chest where he had implanted Hashirama's flesh. I can use would release because of that. Was I moved through time? Am I just a copy? How did I die? You disconnected yourself from the tree nearly 17 years ago. Stated the masked man, confusion evident in his voice. Madara-sama. Do you not remember? The man pulled the mask off of his face, revealing a disfigured face, looking like it was half crushed, half new. Madara was drawn to the boy's Sharingan, the one that had been under the hole in the mask was a Mangekyo, while the other was a normal Sharingan, 3 Tomo. It had been a replacement eye. What don't I remember? Snarled Madara, wanting answers. Nekichin said I disappeared, how could this man be telling me that I still lived for almost 50 years? The man tilted his head before he made his way over to the other wall, pressing his palm into it before a secret door opened. Madara watched as the man pulled a table out of the wall. Just what I say, Madara-sama. You must not remember. When you were revived, you must have been revived from the first time you died. Madara made his way over to the table, never taking his eyes off the man. He wasn't prepared when he looked at the table. It was him. An old, decrepit version of him. White hair and withered lips, his body almost skin and bone. Tell me everything. Now. 5 months later, Kumo. Let's see if the Godim can stand against these dangerous enemies. Madara stood on a nearby mountain, his eyes scanning the arena where the apparent traitors Orochimaru and Danzo were invading with the help of Iwa. Simple peasants. Who will be the first to owe? I wasn't expecting little Inoki to be the first to die. As Madara watched the blonde and his right-hand man, Sasuke believed, tore through the enemy ninja, not so unlike he himself once had. The remaining ninja all fought well. Danzo and Hiruzen both fell. An odd sense of detachment fell over Madara. To him, just a year ago, those two had been best friends. Now both dead, Hiruzen traitorous student fled. Madara watched as the Kumo ninja began cleaning up the scene. He turned to leave, knowing there was nothing else to see. I'll have Obito look into Iwa. Perhaps we can use our new toy. He should be in line to replace little Inoki. Thought Madara as he stopped and looked back at the area one more time, his eyes drawing to the young blonde. He's going to be tricky to handle. Perhaps I can persuade him to see my side. Iwa, 2 days later. Much to Madara's surprise, Obito had been controlling Kitsuchi for almost a year and a half, as well as a few other ninja throughout the world. After that, it was simple enough to ensure that Kitsuchi became Tsuchikage, leading to an even easier path toward Madara's final plan. Obito, however, took it one step further. He ordered Pain, who was apparently the boy he had given his eyes to attack Konoha after gaining Iwa's backing. It was the first time Obito crossed Madara. Iwa, day before the attack on Konoha. It was neither. Stated a voice behind Kitsuchi, an orange-masked figure stepping out of a black portal. It was I, Madara Uchiha. Madara Uchiha. He's dead. Replied Kitsuchi, staring the man in the mask. Who are you really? I am Madara. I stole your Biju. Replied Tobi, his voice deep and serious. And if you don't listen to what I have to say, I'll retract my deal with Inoki and your village will no longer be protected from Akatsuki. Konoha. While Obito was parading as Madara, the real Madara had snuck back into the village, his eyes training on his great-grandson and his Senju teammate. He watches the young Jinchuriki began to mold earth chakra before he subconsciously began pulling on the water nature chakra that reacted ever so subtly to the boy's affinity. Madara's eyes widened slightly as the boy began combining the two chakra releases, forcing the chakra out and making the earth bulge slightly before it all faded, his eyes widening before a smile slipped into the group. He has the Senju Kekkei Genkei. The ability to combine and mold chakra. To think that this boy has inherited so much from his grandfather. Thought Madara, his mind then yelling at him. Perhaps. Those two will redeem the Senju and Uchiha clan. Madara turned and left, his mission complete, his no longer seeing any reason to stay in such a vulnerable area. Perhaps. Perhaps I won't need the Moon's Eye plan. But I will not leave it up to chance, Obito is becoming reckless. I will need to contain him. Konoha, Pain's invasion. Madara snarled as he watched the blonde Hokage defeated the man he had apparently given the Rinnegan. Obito better recover that body. Damn him. The Godim is too strong. If he can defeat the Rinnegan, then he can defeat me as well. I need him dealt with. Madara looked on, pissed off even more when he saw the blonde plummet to the ground, bouncing off the road and landing in a heap. The boy still wasn't dead. I need the Kyuubi to enact the Moon's Eye plan, and I'll never be able to extract it from the boy. I need him gone, then I can finish my plan. Madara turned and walked away, leaving the terrified village behind him. Unless. Madara turned back around, his eyes looking at the crowd that surrounded the downed Hokage, a crude and vicious smirk took over his face. Perhaps he could befall the same jutsu that sent me here. Iwa. Madara was honestly shocked to see that Tsuchikage alone in a training field with no other chakra signature within a mile of him. Suddenly, a surge of chakra alerted him that Kitsuchi was about to use a big jutsu. He activated his Sharingan and watched as the earth shadow fused earth, wind and fire chakra in his palms before expanding his palms, forming a small cube of dust-colored chakra. He shot forward, slamming the cube into a large rock before fleeing. The rock was instantly gone, as was a 20-foot area around it. I see. So that Tsuchikage line remains strong. If he has such control over the dust release, then he may very well match Mew one day. Thought Madara as he watched the man continue to train. Perhaps. If I can learn this dust release, I can simply erase the blonde. Mew seemed capable enough. Madara, who less than a year ago had been thrown into this strange future, had a thought. If this man is the Tsuchikage. Yes, he might know that jutsu. That would get the blonde out of my hair easily. Madara, as fast as he ever was, jumped down from his hiding spot and appeared behind the Tsuchikage, quickly grasping his head and forcing chakra into it. I see. So Obito had been controlling you with a simple genjutsu. Mocked Madara as he created a link within Kitsuchi's mind. Petulant child, so lazy. Madara smirked as the man in his grasp collapsed into the dirt, his hand still on the Tsuchikage's head. It will be simple enough to override his memories and help me bring that Senju into a trap. Boo. Madara was slightly shocked, for any ninja to register the outside world while Madara was using this jutsu was quite startling. I suppose he was not made a cage for nothing. Forcing more chakra into Kitsuchi's brain, Madara chuckled. You just worry about doing my bidding. Iwa, 2 weeks later. Madara-sama, the villagers are in the bunkers and I can feel their chakra connecting with the seal. Informed Obito, his mask on while his back was to the door, sitting directly in front of him, Kitsuchi sat silent, tears streaming from his eyes as he stared at the man in front of him. Are you sure this technique will be strong enough to kill the godame? Without doubt. This was the Uzumaki's strongest seal, capable of instantly disposing of anyone that would be a target of it. Replied Madara, gazing at the current of shadow. And you know how to activate the seal, don't you little Kitsuchi? The Tsuchikage grit his teeth, unable to move. Good. Prepare the genjutsu, he will be here soon. Commanded Madara, placing his hand on the cage's head. Now to clear this fool's mind of my presence in this world. A small smirk played on Madara's lip as he felt the blonde's chakra flare outside the village. With a nod, Madara ordered Obito to activate the genjutsu. Madara stepped back, letting Obito cast his most powerful genjutsu. Like a zombie, Kitsuchi began weaving through hand signs. After the last sign, he mumbled, his voice hollow. Displacement of time. It seemed to pulse through the village, his words carrying on the wind and right to the Godame Hokage clone's ears. What's happening to me? Madara smirked at his soon-to-be expertner. You should have never crossed me. What? Why would you? And Obito Uchiha faded from existence. Madara sighed and looked at the trembling cage in front of him. Pitiful. He's outlived his usefulness. But the dark swirl, Madara departed, leaving the office nearly empty. The only occupant being the heavily mentally and physically damaged Tsuchikage. It was the last moments of the 4th Tsuchikage and the first moment of the 4th Great Shinobi War. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the next part, don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Please like, subscribe, and comment below to let me know your thoughts. Check out my other videos for more content you might enjoy. Until next time, take care.